And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Usually we play a lot of different games here on Plus One, but for the last couple of months, we have been sitting down every week to do our first full-length actual play of The Between in partnership with Gauntlet RPGs. Between and Carve from Brindlewood Games are some of my favorite games to play. Super excited to have this be the full-length stream first full-length campaign we are doing here on Plus One. If you've missed anything, want to catch up, any of that kind of stuff, you can go back and check out all the previous videos over on our YouTube channel, including a two-part we did a couple of years ago with Jason and some other content we'll have coming up later on after we are done playing, maybe over the next few weeks. We'll see what happens. Breaking open this series as well. All that's over on YouTube channel or here on Twitch if you are watching with us live. With that said, I'm going to hand things over to Jason. I will note we are, if you have been tuning in week to week, we are basically cutting out the opening of last week's session and just starting fresh. We had so many tech issues, so many other things that we are just going to kind of start fresh, which I feel weird about because it's such a weird function of actual play. And we don't do it. I don't think it's any of our style, but it just makes sense to do given everything that happened. And so what I really feel bad about is I have a flashback, and we'll talk about this in a second, that I wussed out on and that I'm going to actually do tonight for one of the body parts. So I will be changing something I did from last week, which is the only reason I caveat that and feel weird about it. It's an echo in the night. It's fine. Jason, why don't you take things from there and lead us in?
Absolutely. All right. So this day phase that we're going to be doing is going to be picking up I think it's going to be like several days after the events of the previous night phase. The previous night phase, the big things to remember are that we got the conclusion of the Rick Miller story. Lord Grey and Langfisk helped Rick Miller, the cursed, shake their werewolf curse and ride off into the sunset with Periwinkle. We also had an interesting encounter with Greco, the second-sighted boy, who invited Septimus into this sort of dream realm of his own making. And so that was another kind of big thing that happened last time. We also had a brand new threat reveal itself in the form of Sally No Face. We learned that Sally at one time was conspiring with Mrs. Brathwaite for whatever her plans were, but she decided that Mrs. Brathwaite, that is, decided that she no longer needed Sally's help. Probably because whatever she's up to, she's got way more powerful things at her disposal now than Sally and her surgical pursuits. Nevertheless, Sally's just cut loose, killing people in the city now, and it's going to be up to Hargrave House to figure out what's going on with that and to stop it. So we do have some active threats. In addition to Sally No Face, we also have the creature of Cremorne Gardens. And you have determined that the fish creature is actually real, and you need to figure out what does it want. If you can answer that question, you can lure the creature to you and then destroy it or convince it to go back wherever it came from so that it stops terrorizing pleasure seekers in Cremorne Gardens and Chelsea Harbor and other surrounding areas. 2 active threats. You have 9 mastermind clues. We're getting pretty close to the end of the campaign. As written, the campaign end triggers at 15 mastermind clues, but I'm trying an abbreviated version here, which is probably what the eventual game is. The final version of the game is going to be like. So I think it's going to be like 12 mastermind clues is going to trigger endgame. So we're getting pretty close. Taking a look at the hunters. I don't want to dwell too long on this, except to say that we have some interesting conditions out in the world. Septimus has the Gossamer realm and is also marked by Greco, the second-sighted boy. I have a feeling that's going to come up a lot. Septimus, it should be a lot of fun. Greco's kind of a really interesting individual. Greco, if we're like comparing power levels here, like this is like a supers game, I think like Greco's like Omega level, right? Like he's way, way up there. So have fun with that. He's not even a threat. He's just a person around. Lord Grey has conditions both. He's in my head and she's in my head. So that's a lot of fun. Dr. Spectum is still the most beloved, and the nature of life and death. And Langfisk is always suspicious, it seems. So if there are no other questions, I think I want to pick up with resolving your moves from last time, Knox. Now, we determined in our aborted session from last week that you did find some clues during night work and as a result of the efforts of your resurrectionist pals, which the first is that they found a theatrical mask shaped like a jester, or like a jester mask. They found that where the tubes are being built, kind of near the underground entrance to the tubes. And then, and we think that that's a clue for, well, actually, no, that's just a floating clue right now. We're going to say that's a floating clue. It was previously for a threat that I had introduced, but we're going to reintroduce it. So you have another floating clue, which is you discovered during night work an intricate sigil that had been tattooed across the back of a body that was pulled from the river. So,
and I've added it to my book of actual skin tattoos that somebody gave me at the very beginning.
That's how we do in the between. So let's keep the weirdness train rolling, though. You also have found the last parts for your creation, Dr. Spectum, and per your move, you have to give us a flashback to what it's like when you handle those parts and what it reminds you about vis-a-vis the person you lost.
I think in the early dawn light, we see Knox up in his hidden away tower. The faint light of dawn starting to peek through the top of the glass clockwork on the outside. We hear kind of this banging that's agitating the tank that the child has been being grown and cared for and moving the waters around. The mostly complete form taking place while Knox's hands are buried deep in the flesh terrarium, coupled around a body part, obviously adding different elements to it, sculpting it intricately. We hear that knocking sound. All of a sudden, it shifts as we see silhouetted in Charles's monocle, but not in his eye. Laying on the sideboard of a table, we see it shaking as the headboard of Charles's bed knocks against the wall over and over and over again. We see Knox slightly horrified, slightly admirable, watching as Charles is being intimate with two other members of the staff. The scullery maid and the gardener have joined him in the bedroom. It's very unclear how young Knox is being affected by this, but there's more of a curiosity about the way that anatomy is interacting. This is an incredibly sensual scene in the room, but for Knox, there seems to be a detached academic appreciation, a coming understanding of the different faces and lives that adults have. As all of a sudden the knocking stops, we hear, "Oh shit," and the door slams. Knox pulls a set of genitalia out of the flesh terrarium and places it on the body.
I like how you just had that in your room. That's pretty great. So, fantastic. Well, it is the day phase. You only have 2 active threats, which means we must introduce a new one. The King in Shadows, Act 1, in which the curtains rise and our cast come to the slow realization that they are stuck in a tragedy, and that the performance of a mysterious play is heralding the incursion of another world on our own. A round of applause is heard as the curtain rises. Everyone claps. Scene 1. It is day. The set of Hargrave House is bare, except for a single door and a lounge sofa. Our cast is fretting about. They move upstage as a table appears, laden with tea and... None of you are certain what just happened. As far as you all know, you went to bed. It was a restless night, and when you awoke this morning, all your actions felt strangely scripted. The feeling persisted throughout the early morning, until you all sat down for tea. This is a question for all of you. Each of you experienced a vivid nightmare in which you stood before a tall figure wreathed in shadows. Please describe one horrific, vulnerable, or terrifying experience you had within the dream as you auditioned for a place in the king's royal court.
All right. I think we see Lord Grey sort of like fretting with this teacup. And then we flash back and he's fretting with a piece of paper that he doesn't remember how he got. It's a speech. Maybe he wrote it? Did he write this? That doesn't seem correct. Other people other people do that for him. But the words, he can't make them out on the page. And he can't remember what he's supposed to say, and he feels so small and so insignificant in front of this towering being. And there is just the softest disappointing from the shadows. And then he is pulled off stage by unseen hands.
Nox stands in darkness as a lime bulb pops and fizzles overhead into existence. Light music fills the room as a young woman in courtly dress approaches him and holds out her hand to dance. Nox, obviously uncomfortable, doesn't know quite what to do. I reach out to take the hand before drawing back. Suddenly, I feel a hand around my waist as a transcendently beautiful young man tries to pull me towards him dancing. All of a sudden, members of the court come out and enter into an elaborate dance. Nox tries to follow along as best as able, but can't quite seem to. He trips over his own 2 feet and suddenly finds himself being pelted by the moves, kicks, and stomps of the court as he is incapable of rolling away. And he wakes up.
Langfisk has a spotlight just appear above him. And there is a room full of faceless people watching, this audience watching. And then you can hear a piano, an old piano, start playing as a just piano player is looking and trying to get him to play and sing in time. And then finally, Langfist goes, boiled beef and carrots, that's the stuff for you, Derby Cow, makes you fit, and the audience starts booing. And you can see that there are beets and carrots and tomatoes and potatoes all being thrown on the stage. And then finally, the pain goes away, and just Langfisk feels himself being swallowed up and all of these different root vegetables smothering.
Tim has a little note card with his monologue attached and is all but pissed himself on stage from the lights and the eyes that he can't see but he knows are there. And he just utters and it cracks and chokes and spits. Eventually, a coffin nail comes out, followed by a bit of blood and grave dirt. And now he's just choking, literally on stage and hobbling off, still spitting up pieces of someone's grave.
Vyn, are you able to turn your audio up just a touch?
Yeah, totally.
Thank you all, everyone. Looking further into this matter, it appears you all are not alone when it comes to these nightmares, when it comes to these auditions. A strange madness plagues London at the moment. Rumors describe mass delusions, hysteria, and disorientation among peoples of all classes. 2 individuals, artist Hypatia Quint and theater critic Larkin Creel, were both admitted to Bethlehem Royal Hospital recently, following bouts of distress. Prior to his admittance to Bedlam, Larkin published a scathing review of a piece of experimental theater titled The King in Shadows. The review is unforgiving in its criticisms, but it's clear that Larkin felt drawn, perhaps obsessed, to see the play again. Now, the problem is the production doesn't actually stay in one place for long. Part of the play's allure is its sudden appearance at a new venue every few weeks. Those who wish to see must seek it for themselves. The play was last performed in the basement of Ranelagh Chapel in Sloane Square, just a stone's throw from Hargrave House. If you can find the play, the new location, maybe watching it can provide some insight into what's going on. And indeed, that is your first question. What signs precede a performance of the play, and where will it appear next? It's fairly straightforward, complexity 2. The opportunity is to discover the location of the new venue. You may then watch a performance during any following night phase while the threat is active. After you watch the play, you then unlock the next question. You also have an aspect of the Janus mask available called the Mask of Dissociation. Each hunter narrates a time they felt like a stranger in their own body. And so with all that said, I want to check in with everyone and see what you are wanting to do today. The day phase belongs to you, and so I will do my best to follow you around as you wish. Let's start with Lord Grey. Lord Grey, we've got 3 active threats. No shortage of conditions on the table as well. You probably have some dawn questions you might want to pursue as well. What do you want to do?
Finally, some fucking culture around here. I'm gonna go look for the play because obviously it's not wet. I mean, it's not gross. And it's not in a nasty part of town with somebody with a knife. So maybe
You have 3. You have several leads here that you could pursue, and I'll let you decide how you want to go about it. There are these 2 people who are in Bedlam, who are connected to the play, we think. We have the last location where it was performed, that chapel. And then just in general, this is kind of becoming a thing in the city, right? The city has 3 competing obsessions right now between the creature and the Sally No Face murders, and now this play. So what do you think?
I want to go to where it was last seen. That seems more pleasant than Bedlam. It's more
Sounds good to me.
more my scene.
Langfisk, will you be trailing along in Lord Grey's wake or doing something else?
Absolutely. I would not leave the little lord by himself anymore. And I'm also going to try to bring a friend along as just an added backup. Barrel staves.
Barrel
once again.
staves. I love it. Let's roll that now. Let's see how that goes.
You're always bringing people along, and they're just so unsavory.
Still a 0, so yeah, that's a 7.
7. So barrel staves, let's read the move for folks who are curious. The Hargrave House informals. You skim money from the Hargrave House accounts in order to maintain a network of spies and enforcers throughout London. When you put out word that you need help from one such person in that network, select them from the list and roll with presence. You've chosen barrel staves. We'll talk about them in a moment. On a 10 plus, they show up, and then you get advantage when they help you with rolls. On a 7 to 9, as above, but they take a while to show up, or they want something in exchange for their help. I'm going to go with they want something in exchange for their help, and you are probably not going to like it, Langfisk, but I'll let you after we role play the scene. I'll let you decide whether you want to bump the roll or not. So we'll pick up with that probably first thing. Let's check in with Septimus. What do you think?
I want to wrap up Cremor Gardens, so do some little fishing for the fish man.
I love it. There are still quite a few places in Cremorne Gardens we have not seen, like places within the gardens themselves. There's also there might be a couple of other leads like outside of Cremorne Gardens as well. What do you think?
I'll finish out the gardens, do a little
Yeah.
promenade.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see every location. I wrote them all to be explored, so let's go explore them. Fantastic. Dr. Spectrum, I know you have a lot on your plate right now, but do you wish to help with the investigations or
No.
do something else?
I think Dr. Spectrum is like in the kitchen making coffee. There's a small box about the size of a sunglass case next to him, along with his pocket watch. And he's just looking out the window as people depart, drinking a cup of coffee, steeling himself for the day in front of him.
I love it. I love it. Well, I have some thoughts then. I won't let you just wallow in.
Oh, I mean, I do have one more body part. I'm totally going to put that last body part in.
Okay, very good. Langfisk, Beryl Staves shows up. His description in the playbook is simply that Beryl Staves is a hooligan, an absolute unit. What does that actually mean? Like, how big is Beryl Staves?
I imagine, have you, or if anybody is familiar with famed WWF/WWE Hall of Fame wrestler The Big Show,
Yes.
yeah, about 7 feet tall, massive hands, hairy, but he wears like a striped sailor shirt almost. Like a blue and white striped sailor shirt, and has an ascot that's holding his head on tight. Like if you remove that ascot, the head would float away or roll off. Just big beefy guy.
Big beefy guy. Beryl Staves. Unlike young Master Kip, Beryl Staves understands that he comes to Hargrave House through the back door. And so he shows up and he says, I heard you put out word, Mr. Langfisk. I'm here. What are we going to be doing today?
That's all right, mate. Yeah, a little bit. We're running a little bit behind. We're going to be protecting the Lord Grey, keeping an eye on him, making sure nobody messes around, and also making sure that if we need to investigate something, we'll rip the carpet up, check the baseboards, things of that nature. Oh, I hear there's rats in your walls. Pardon me. You understand.
He says, I am, of course, very happy to respond to your summons, Mr. Langfisk, because I consider myself a very loyal fellow. But I am also a man with needs, Mr. Langfisk. I too have needs that have to be fulfilled from time to time.
I understand this. Yes, I understand. I'm a man with needs as well. But there's a thing that I've been trying out with some of my associates. It's called a work-life balance. You understand that like you have the work that like you get paid for, which is what I'm doing. Paid work, and then there's your life, and like if a mates and everything, and it mingles. You understand? But like but like sometimes I need some me time as well. So just keep that in mind. I'm open-minded. I'm willing to hear you out, mate. But
It's about another one of your so-called informals, Mr. Langfisk.
carry on.
It's about Miss Willow, Mr. Langfisk. Elsie.
What about Elsie?
Well, quite fancier, Mr. Langfisk. And seeing as how you are a mutual acquaintance and a person of authority in both of our lives, I think it would mean quite a lot if you were to put in a good word for me.
You want me to set you up with Elsie Willow, your work associate?
I just want you to make a formal introduction between us. That's all.
A formal introduction?
And to put in a good word.
And to put in a good word. This is very unprofessional, Beryl.
Well, forgive me, Mr. Langfisk, but if I understand the nature of this enterprise completely, you are not exactly, you're not exactly operating on the up and up here. I gather that you pay us with funds that are meant to go towards the larder here at Hargrave House and not into our pockets.
And mind that's why I'm wondering why you didn't ask sooner. Of course, I'd love to set you up with Elsie. I think that you two would be a perfect match. Hopefully understanding that, you know, your line of work and her line of work might intersect sometimes. If you're able to keep that separate, of course, I'll have to have you fill out contracts, both of you, knowing that if there's anything like murder, barbarism, any effects of like harm towards one another from each of you, that whatever happens, I will be paid in recompense for loss of work.
You get the distinct impression he doesn't quite understand what you're getting at, but he just nods vigorously.
I will see what I can do.
Thank you, Mr. Langfisk.
Of course.
With all that done, let's pick up with our good friend Tim. Tim, you know, I think when you arrive at Cremorne Gardens, it's a lovely day. We have, I think you might come upon a thing that you see often whenever you come by. It's a man in a full suit of medieval armor placing a rose crown on his Queen of Beauty. The Queen of Beauty is always, it's always like an extremely old, you know, an extremely elderly woman or like a young girl. It's always meant to like kind of flatter someone, you know. So that's kind of happening. You can you can hear the pop of firearms from the shooting gallery, the crash of bowling pins from the American Bowling Saloon. It's just another day at Cremorne Gardens. People don't seem to be too upset about the creature at this point. I think it's almost like people are coming hoping to see it. So let's paint the scene, everyone. What are the people doing in Cremorne Gardens to show that they're actually excited about the creature of Cremorne Gardens? And what is Cremorne Gardens doing to take advantage of this excitement?
We see a kid running around with a really wet pocket and a kind of rancid sea salty smell. He has fish heads ready to feed it or to catch it. And to make worse, the gardens are selling like this chum and like bait for the monster.
Like a petting zoo.
There's been numerous sightings of like shapes in the water, dark shapes in the water. And so Cremorne Gardens has started having gentlemen work on clear bottom boats, taking window glass and putting it on the bottom of their boats and seeing if they can show people what lurks in the Thames.
There is a Kiss the Fish contest that's being held that is Something of a breast holding contest, something of an endurance struggle where you have to you pay a fee and you plunge your face into icy cold water while trying to hold a large trout that is alive and thrashing around beneath to see how long you can do it. The winner obviously gets the title of head fish kisser and a decent cash prize.
Oh my God. There are like, you see the kid with the wet pocket run up to another child excitedly. And this child is wearing a mask that is like this crude paper mask that definitely supposed to be a fish monster. We don't know if it was actually modeled after any sort of real creature, but it's definitely there. And there is someone hawking these paper masks to kids, and we pan out and see like multiple children wearing them or begging their parents, please, 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 I want one so bad, trying to steal one.
I love it. I love it. I would be remiss if I did not point out as well, Tim, that you can smell incense wafting from Greco's tent. He's still plying his trade here at Crimorn Gardens, telling fortunes. Except the people who are coming out of the tent seem a little shell-shocked by the experience. I think it's not just the typical, oh, you're going to fall in love soon, or your business is going to flourish. These people are coming out of the tent like they just got told that they're about to die, or something horrible is about to happen to them. Where do you go? What do you do?
I mean, I wasn't going to, but now filled with morbid curiosity, I gotta see what he's telling these people. Going down to the tent.
I love it. I love it. See him in person. I don't know if you've ever met him like in the flesh. Have you? I don't think so. Yeah. We'll pick up with that in a moment. Dr. Spectum, every now and then the Limehouse Lurker crawls down from the bell tower to look at you doing your work. He's literally crawling on the walls right now, making comments, asking questions. This vampire in the body of a little boy, but who has lived many, many lifetimes worth of existence. He says, "It looks like you're nearly done."
I am. It's time. Will you stay with me?
Yes, I find this to be utterly fascinating. There is one thing that makes me proud to have once been a part of your species, and it's your ingenuity. My kind, we get very set in our ways, as you might imagine. And even though I do what I do very, very well, I never think beyond that rather narrow arena. But you are going to create life. I want to know about the process. What is this going to be like? Is this magic? Is this science? Is this machinery? Is it alchemy?
There is a current limitation to the proper understanding of how alchemy, science, biology, magic, as you mentioned, though, well, how I don't think they're as distinctive as we might consider. I mean, you yourself have an altered biology, a different way of operating, but you're still bound by many of the same laws that govern everyone else, even though you are singular and exquisite in your age and in your knowledge. There are other creatures and items my friends have stumbled across that are all so fascinating. This is not a single one of those things. This is all of them. There is kinetic energy. There is Patrick's blood, for which I don't know if I could have done this without. There are so many small elements that will go into this, each of them precisely calibrated, each of them required, but not all from what we would consider the same source. Many from what some people would consider conflicting sources, but all of which I would consider some sort of science. It is really just about learning to lean in, to push further when others stop and feel squeamish or uncomfortable, to take that next step. I'm not the smartest person, but I am smart. It was my willingness to push beyond other students that allowed my knowledge to grow, to reach in and grab something inside that squirms and calls out. And at this moment, the only thing I can call what I have right now is some form of hope.
The lurker, by the time you're done speaking, the lurker is now hunched over the child on the slab. He looks at you and says, "What will you do if you give your child life and it resents you for it?"
It is the role of a child to resent its parents, whether that's at the start or later on, or because they're gone or because they're there. My child will come to resent me at some point in time. Hopefully not forever, but if that's all that we have, it will still be something.
But what if the outcome is even worse than resentment? What if the child is a disappointment to you?
I don't know that it could be, but I mean, I suppose the other side of that is that every point in time, a child will disappoint their parents. This is just, I think, the way of things. I don't have any interest in business. My father did. I didn't have any interest in fashion. My mother did. I had very little desire for any form of society or companionship, both of which they would have wanted for me. I'm sure they wanted, but I also don't really care what they wanted. I care what he wanted. And I'm sure there are times he was disappointed with me also.
The lurker just smiles and says, "I wouldn't miss this for anything. Now, if you don't mind, I need to catch a few hours shut-eye." And crawls back up into the high part of the bell tower. Lord Grey, Langfisk. The chapel. Ranelagh Chapel is under renovations. There are paint cans and scaffolding everywhere, the outside din of passers-by. The performance was actually held in the basement of the chapel, and you can make your way there with no trouble. It's dimly lit, contains only a shoddy wooden stage and a canvas backdrop. There are people, workers, kind of roaming around, and there's one woman in particular with a sort of cherubic face, short wavy brown hair, very modestly dressed, but clearly in charge of what's going on here. Let's paint the scene, everyone. This place has been touched by madness. The effects of the King in Shadows. But some elements of this space, they almost seem too mundane. What are they?
A young local worker is just whistling a jaunty tune while they sweep up the popcorn and detritus left by the last crowd.
I think the backdrop, as they're trying to sort of take it down, we can see even when it was up, sort of, we can see through the paint in some parts. It wasn't thick enough. We can see the tacks holding it on. You can see a little bit through the illusion, just a smidge.
We can see a worker taking down curtains, and behind these curtains on the walls, there are very strange, almost hieroglyphic-like symbols scrawled onto the walls, but the worker pays no mind. He's there to it's somebody that handles curtains, doesn't have anything to worry about wallpaper.
The walls of the rest of the theater smell super sterile, but they're like tinted a shade of pink. Like whatever they got off the walls, they managed, but not quite, and now it just stays there as a stain.
Lord Grey, what do you do? Lord Grey with Langfisk and barrel staves in tow.
That's what I was like. I assume these two yahoos are following me down into this place. And before we get too far in, I see the woman who's in charge, and I stop them both, like behind me, like as if this is my, as if I'm allowed to command Beryl, like he's my like manservant to just. I have someone to talk to here. Do you have things to keep yourselves occupied with? Looking around, I don't know what this man. I like kind of look at Beryl like I don't know what. You know what he does, right, Langfisk? I don't know what he does.
Beryl, pocket maneuver. Pocket maneuver, which is essentially let's help them start taking this place down, which means start ripping up, taking knives to seat cushions, all this stuff like that. Just start renovating the entire place. Pocket maneuver being grab them by the feet, turn them upside down, and shake out their pockets.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that kind of thing. Very good.
Jesus. Just like, all right.
That's going to be I think it's actually going to be the information move with vitality. You will get advantage because of barrel staves as well.
That is a 15.
A 15. I think it's one of the highest results I've ever seen in this game. That's great. For viewers at home, that's in part because Langfisk also has a 3 in vitality. So those extra points make a big difference. You'll get a clue and possibly a mastermind clue and some other fun stuff. We'll visit that in a moment. Lord Grey, did you want to talk to this woman she's becoming, and there's an increasing dawning sense of like Langfisk and barrel staves like kind of interfering and threatening people a little bit. And
don't worry.
She says, I'm so very sorry. Who are you all?
And don't worry, because I'm going to use Giveth and flash her my signet ring.
Oh, very good. Let's remind folks what giveth is. This is the I mean, in a playbook with tons of powerful moves, this is probably the most powerful. At any time, you can declare that a side character is secretly one of your worshippers. Her name is Marie Litton. How does Marie Litton subtly or not so subtly debase herself before you?
I just hold out my hand and she kisses the ring.
Nice.
Like in front of God and everyone.
Yeah, that's great. She'll say, "My lord, and she kisses the ring and she says, really quietly, I regret to inform you that the play has moved on. I was wondering if you were going to come watch it. I hesitate to suggest that the play is strangely captivating. Not so captivating as you, of course, but deeply, deeply unusual. How can I serve you?"
Well, you're doing it right now, darling. I do have something for you, and if you could provide something for me, that would be just lovely. And he reaches into like he's got this like long sort of like overcoat and he pulls out the little hand mirror from St. James's Street with a ghost. I'm not sure if it's as captivating as this play, but I think it might be interesting for you. If you could help me find something just as interesting.
I love it. So, scar your reflection for creating this worshiper, or for making this side character a worshiper. Whenever we get back from break, be prepared to tell us how the painting is changing. And because you gave her something from your personal quarters, she'll also do exactly as you say, no questions asked. And there's no limitation on that either. She will do literally anything you ask. And she'll have some information for you as well. We'll come back to that in a bit. I do want to check in with Tim, though. Septimus, when you approach the tent, rather than there being a tent flap that you have to push your way through, there's like a curtain that raises. And you can see what appears to be a couple of people around Greco who scurry into the shadows like last second, like they don't want to be seen. Greco, who looks similar as he does in the dream world, though significantly less majestic or imposing, right? He's sitting at his little table covered with, a shawl that's embroidered with stars and things like that. He's got his crystal ball and whatnot. And he has that painted on eye on his forehead, which is just for show. But he's staring at you and he says, really quietly, "Line." And then someone else in the shadows says, "So we meet again." Thank you. "So we meet again, though under certainly different circumstances."
Yeah, I really want to say normal circumstances. This doesn't feel very normal. When did you get attendance? Is this new? Did you ever have?
You don't see those people anymore.
Okay, I don't.
No. It's no. I mean, you would have, but they're not there anymore.
Gotcha.
Greco says, "Please sit down, Septimus."
This Tim, please. And they said,
They put their hands on the crystal ball. They say, "Shall I gaze into the future, Tim? Shall I peer beyond the veil and see what lurks in the shadows?
Whichever your heart desires.
Very well. Let us gaze together. And he begins staring into the crystal ball, which is not doing anything special. There's no weird lights. There's no smoke. There's nothing like that. I do want you to make the information move with sensitivity, though.
All right. That's not concerning at all.
I think because of the Gossamer Realm, I'm going to put you at disadvantage as well.
Oh, drats. Okay. Well, luckily my dice like me. Both of those are 5 at my lowest, and that'll be I know how to add. 13.
Nice. Look at these great rolls. These kind dice tonight. Let's go around the table. I want to check in and see what I owe everyone before we take our first break. Lord Grey, you're going to get some information from Marie Litton. Langfisk, you've got a lot coming to you because you're 15. Tim also got a high result on chatting with Greco. And Dr. Spectum, we just kind of left you.
You owe me a baby. That's what you owe me one.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and resolve all this stuff.
We'll be back in just 1 minute to keep on playing The Between. And we're back playing the Between.
So, Tim, you don't see anything in the crystal ball, but Greco seems to be. He seems to be like. He enters a sort of fugue state almost. His eyes get glassy. You can maybe even see the faint outline glow on that third eye on his forehead. And he stops responding to you. But he does eventually start singing in a small, quiet voice a sailor's hymn. A sailor's hymn. It's a song about a sailor who went to sea in order to find his lost love, and he dived into the ocean when he saw something under the waves, a light under the waves, and he was reunited. This is your clue. And then, sort of in the middle of all that, Greco breaks from his sort of fugue state and takes your hand, which is wet, as if he had just plunged it in water. It's wet. It smells of brine. He says, "You must be careful, Septimus Redding. The Blue Lady, she has learned how to make contact. She has learned how to make contact with the entity inside the camera."
The camera. Heavens. Okay, thank you. Are you there? Are you just...
Yes. I I fear I don't do my best work in this sort of environment. In the future, I think we should restrict ourselves to dreams. In dreams, I can still hide from whatever is taking over this city.
Then, I perhaps, without being forward, of course, I'll see you in my dreams.
You hear thunderous applause from outside the tent, as if there were dozens of people outside the tent watching you. They erupt in applause. Greco actually stands up and takes a bow to no one in particular. Let's check in with Dr. Spectrum. Dr. Spectrum, what are you doing with the rest of your day?
We see Nox standing over the. I'm making a baby, Jason. You and me right now. It's going to happen. That's my plan. Is we're going to put the last body part in, and I think we're gonna make
You wanna
this
do the roll?
roll.
I love it. Let's read this for benefits of our viewers here. This is the key move on the Mother playbook. The child. When you acquire all the necessary parts, or are otherwise instructed to do so, you can attempt to bring the child to life and roll with reason. Now, if you didn't have all the parts, you'd have to make it at disadvantage because you'd have to just make do with whatever parts you could find, not the perfect ones. But you have all the parts. You do have a reason score of 2. Now I have to think about your conditions. I wonder. I don't know how Most Beloved could affect the roll. I don't know if it does. I don't know how it would. I don't know. I'm open to the table suggestions. If anybody has any, if we have any clever keepers at the table. Or chat,
we all
for that matter.
dummies here.
Or the nature of life and death. I think I could make a case for that affecting you negatively because of hubris.
I can't imagine matters of life and death not affecting me.
It's pure
this.
hubris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that might cause you to make, if not make mistakes, at least maybe you're just, this is the whole, just from the jump, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even with just the dialogue, Knox has mixed so many weird things together to build this child, right?
It's yeah.
And has a very fatalistic outlook on it that I think in no way, shape, or form would cause him to stop and be concerned about the potential outcomes if this goes wrong.
What I would like for you to do, I would like for you to roll, but not tell us the outcome. And instead, when we come back to you, narrate what happens when you bring it to life.
Now, I think I asked you this question early on. Any of the things that normally affect die rolls can affect this roll, correct?
Yes,
This is if I have an item I want to mark,
Absolutely.
I can use it. If I want
And
to mark
you can bump
mask,
it with Janus Mask too. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Cool. That's fine. I just want to make sure beforehand. And so,
Do you want to use an item beforehand?
I think it'll be clear which item I am using during the narrative, but yes, I'm going to mark an item to offset disadvantage. And so
Make your die roll, and then let's at least get a facial reaction if we don't know what the actual result is.
do I need to make a facial reaction?
You can do whatever you want. This is your stream, Tony.
All right.
We need Greco to help us divine the outcome.
Poker face ass. What is this?
I'm saying you need to think of a letter starting with D.
I mean, Jason, do you just want me to take it from here?
No, I want to come back to you. No,
Okay.
I want this to be we'll save it. We'll give you a moment to think about it. Let's talk about your scene, Langfisk and Lord Grey. So the situation, Langfisk and Barrel Staves just start shaking people down, but Marie Litton isn't going to step in the way. She's not going to interfere. In fact, she might go off to the side to tell you what she knows, Lord Grey. Langfisk, I want to know, I'm not going to role play like how you learn the information. I'm not going to have those scenes, but I do want to I want to know like what it looks like. Like, what are you and Barrel Staves doing to get this information out of people?
It is Langfisk looking around, seeing a fruit bowl that was used from the play, and then grabbing a pear from it and pulling out a knife, and then just a shrill whistle, and then everybody kind of stopping slowly and turning and looking, and Langfisk goes, all right, you blokes over there, you're gonna all line up against the wall, and then mate here, Barrel's gonna go by one. You're gonna turn out your pockets. We're gonna ask what you do around here. You're gonna give us some basic information. Once we find out that none of you are gonna frisk us or stick us or anything like that, all right, mates, then we're gonna have a conversation, okay? And I'm gonna walk by and talk to each of you, like your Pat might have talked to you long ago. Just real quick, and you're gonna tell me the truth. And if you don't tell me the truth, then Barrel here is gonna start breaking toes and fingers until there's nothing left of you, and you're gonna have to drag yourself home like a baby seal. All right? Let's start. And then just like immediately, just like goes through the process of just Barrel frisks somebody, grabbing things aside, and then follow up with who are you, what do you do, what do you remember happening that stands out. If they don't answer, if they stammer, then it's like, okay, get out of you're not a waste of time. Just very methodical.
I love it. I think that like Well, at the outset, what you're going to learn is of the people who saw the play doesn't like the play doesn't it seem very good, or it just seems kind of weird. Like at one point, yeah, one of the guys is like, "Well, the whole second act was just two people rowing an imaginary boat with imaginary oars down an imaginary river, occasionally wailing from the chorus behind them." I mean, Hamlet, it is not. And lots of criticism of the King in Shadows, not what you're asking for. But you do learn three things of importance. One thing you learn is a clue. One thing you learn is a mastermind clue. And one thing you learn is just not a clue at all, but it's very, very good information. The clue. The clue is rather straightforward. The company that was putting on the play, they made a point of marking the walls of the basement, this makeshift theater space. They marked on the walls a strange sigil. This sigil, how shall I describe it? A sort of occult-looking sigil, like a circle with a circle sort of like bordered with a crown of thorns, or like a wreath of sort of like weird little spikes or something like that, right? They made a point of painting this on the walls. They've had to spend quite a lot of time today getting that off the walls. And one of the workers points out, "I've actually seen that sigil in other places around the city." That's your clue. It's a good one. The helpful information that they will reveal is that this company of players who call themselves the Court of the Occluded King, they would meet at a pub called the Night Tap. But here's the funny thing. The Night Tap only appears at night. If you try to go in the day, it's just a little alley. And then perhaps to your great dismay, Langfisk, they also reveal that on the final night of the performance, a woman wearing the largest jewel any of them had ever seen around her neck showed up with her servants, and they took photographs of the performance. Lord Grey.
Yes.
Marie Lytton is also very forthcoming. She explains to you that she doesn't know precisely where the next venue for this strange play is going to be. But she does report that ever since she saw the play, she has been seeing strange things in mirrors. Mirrors now do not give reflections for her. She sees only smoky, slithering darkness. She says, "That would be such a terrible tragedy to befall you, my lord. I cannot imagine one so beautiful never being able to see their reflection again in a mirror. Please, you must not watch the play. I implore you, do not watch the play."
Oh, darling, I'm not so easily felled by a play. No matter how, looks over at all the other shit going on, esoteric. And I do want you to know, before she started talking, he was and watched Langfist kind of give everyone like the fucking rundown, was just like, oh, amazing. astounding. And then like let her continue talking. I will be fine.
As she is pleading with you, she's on her knees pleading with you.
How cute. And he's just like, he's not touching her, but he's like, aw.
I'm curious, being in this space tinged with madness as it is by this strange play, having Marie Litton at your feet and your rather dismissive behavior towards her, how is the painting absorbing these stains on your soul?
I think we see it coming from the edges, and it is that strange, slithering darkness that she described creeping around him. And this is less of a thing you can see, but more you can feel it when you look on it. When he looks on it, because he doesn't let anyone else look at it, he can feel the king in shadows looking back.
Fantastic. Thank you. Tim, I probably don't have to tell you that there is not a crowd of people applauding you outside the tent. Where do you go after that strange encounter with Greco? You have nothing but strange encounters with Greco. That's okay, though.
The story of his life. I'm just gonna wander out of the tent and I don't know. I guess try to blend in by buying a mask.
Oh, interesting. Like what kind of mask? Like one of these fish masks, or?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. I like it. This might be a fun time to use your move. The one that lets you. Don't you have the divination move? The what's it called? A thinning of the veil.
I do.
Yeah. Do you want to glimpse your tarot cards to see what's going to happen if you put on one of these masks?
It's been really cool to just set that real quick.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I think he'll like do some divination like on top of the mask itself.
Oh, nice. Good. I love that. Go ahead and roll with sensitivity. Let's see what you learn.
All right. Big money, no whammies. That is 7. A 9.
I will answer what is about to happen on a 7 and 9. What is about to happen? I think what is about to happen is the entities that are always with you, that are always hovering. If you put on this mask, I think they are going to use the mask as an opportunity, a sort of invitation or a medium to give you proper monstrousness, to perhaps try to ride along and see what they can see through your new eyes. Do you wish to put on the mask?
Yeah, because I'm stupid.
I think you have to. This is going to be the day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if this goes poorly?
I'm afraid I'm going to stay possessed longer than I would like.
Yeah. This is going to be with sensitivity. I am going to put you at disadvantage because of the Gossamer Realm.
Gotcha. Okay, let's go. Things I do for Hargrave House. Okay. That's going to be a 8.
Okay. Oh, how does this move work in this game I wrote on a 7 and 9? What happens? Why can't I remember how the day move works? Oh, okay, you keep it together, but there's a complication or cost. So I would like to suggest that the complication or cost is going to be the entities learn something about you that you've been trying to hide from them. Putting on this mask gives them just a little glimpse, enough. Do you want to bump it up to avoid that? Or do you want to roll with it?
I'll roll with it because it's funny.
It is kind of interesting. Be thinking about what it's like when you put on the mask and you can feel the entities making a move in that moment. And then how do you kind of resist their incursion? And also be thinking about what you're trying to hide from them as well. In the meantime, this is it, Nox. Everything you've been working toward over 9+ sessions. Describe what happens. Give us a scene.
We see Nox take out the last body part, open up this case they've been carrying. We see 2 heterochromatic eyeballs sitting inside as they take them out and gently place them into the sockets on the face. We hear the pounding of the tank being agitated. It gets louder and louder and louder. Then we see Nox standing alone, no reflection, in a room full of people, somber and alone, all dressed in black. Limply at his side, we see dangling on a long chain the monocle that Charles always has in place. He takes it and he places it inside of the pocket watch covering the lens, or covering the face. People talk to him, but it's all just a fuzz in the background. We see them graveside. Everyone else leaves. The sky starts to darken, and the gardener comes out. We hear Nox mumble something under his breath as the gardener tries to pull him back into the house. Master Nox, it's time to come in. He wouldn't want this. We hear Nox mumble something again, and says, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear you. Who will watch me now? Who will watch me now? As Nox looks into the eyes, the agitation of the tank getting brighter and brighter, the flesh terrarium side is opened as the sludge slowly comes in and covers the entire body. This soup-like substance starts to congeal and twist and change. A face emerges out of this soup, but it is not the face of the child that Nox was expecting. It's deformed and grotesque. And in that moment, Nox realized that for all his composure, for all his certainty, that maybe he was not up to the task. That the willingness to reach beyond or go beyond doesn't guarantee any sort of success. The child in front of him is an accomplishment, but is it one he really wants to watch grow and change and live? Then I'll put on a mask that I'll narrate later. Because I rolled a 5 and then forgot to add reason. It was like, shit, can I use 2 masks at the same time? And asked Amanda to help me look up rules real quick. And then realized I hadn't added reason. And so
So what are you bumping it to then?
we're going to bump it up to a full success, a 10 plus. And
Full
so,
success. Very good. Yeah.
So we see Nox look into the eyes of the child as he takes his pocket watch that's to the side. The tank starts to drain. We see a well-formed, lithe body down below. As Nox opens up his pocket watch and takes out the monocle and takes off his glasses and fixes the monocle to his eyes, looks at their face and says, "Now we will watch each other."
Fantastic.
Can
Let's
I?
let's keep reading the moves so that people know exactly what's going on here. This, you made your roll. You ultimately, eventually got to a 10 plus, which means the child is alive and they love you very much
They love me.
in their way. You now have a brand new dawn question, which is always selected. Did you teach the child a lesson about what it means to be human? And so that is now available to you. We shall see more of the child and what that looks like. I assume at some point there's going to be a little coming out party
We'll
for
figure
the
it out.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a kid around now. No one knows.
Yeah. I mean, just so that everyone has like a good, like clear idea of, well, I want to come back. I want to know like kind of what, physically, what does the child look
Yeah.
like, right? What are we seeing in our mind's eye? I want to check in though with Tim. What's that like when you put that mask on, when you give those entities that little bit of entree? And importantly, do you want to tell us the secret yet, or do you want to hold that for a while?
Listen, I was born to yap. I'm gonna tell y'all the secret. Um, and what it feels like when she puts on this mask is like their breath is being taken away. Like they can no longer breathe, and that hesitation comes again, almost like onset panic. And they try to ground themselves with a memory. And unfortunately, that memory is a scolding. It's the distant yellings of like a maid saying, Septimus Lawrence Redding II, just over and over again, which will infer, yes, that Septimus is the seventh son of a seventh son.
Love it. Thank you. I want to check in briefly with Langfisk and Lord Grey, and then we'll probably start to wrap up the phase here in a bit, so we can have kind of an unhurried night phase. I think I just want to have a little scene with the two of you, maybe kind of leaving the chapel, having learned a lot, and having a better sense of. I mean, Mrs. Brathwaite's definitely making her moves here. We can have that scene if you want to try to make it a vulnerable move. You certainly can, but.
Yes, please. That would be so good.
Yeah, what's going on, and whose vice is in play?
Well, I'll actually let Langfisk decide. Are you taking me to some sort of betting parlor, or am I offering you a cocaine cigarette
In the handsome cab, just a little bit.
in the handsome cab? Is that just like what's the vibe here? What's Langfisk's vibe?
I feel like, do you allow, am I allowed to sit in the director's chair for a little bit here, real quick, just to set it a little bit? Okay. All
Appropriate
right.
for King and Shadows, I think, especially.
Ooh,
God damn it.
yeah.
Fuck, shit, this is my nightmare. Okay.
It's
I've
already
never
here,
had it
buddy.
used against me. I've always been the one to use it. It's never been the other way around.
Oh, how the turntables have turned.
I think we see after all of that and getting that information, Lang Fisk, um, like just lets go of the person, like was probably holding him up against the wall, and then just lets them go and just says, "All right, we've seen enough here. Seen enough here, Beryl. Clean him up. Get him paid if you have to." And I just set a stack of bills in his hand and everything, and just like very agitatedly go out to the hansom cab, and I'm just sitting and waiting. And I think we maybe see afterwards Lord Grey, all that interaction comes into the cab and sits, and then the wick cracks of the horse and it starts moving through the streets. And then we just see Langfisk just like stewing. And then just finally just bangs on the front of the cab and goes, "Stop here." And then steps down, opens the door, and holds a hand out to Lord Grey.
like, I think Lord Grey watches you stew for the entire ride, fascinated, wondering if you're going to say anything, because he doesn't want to ask first. You do this sometimes, and it's best to just let you do it. But when you stop and offer the hand, he's like, and very intrigued, and takes your hand and gets down and doesn't let go. Where are we stopping?
We need a debrief, learn some information. We need to go over it very quickly, or quietly, calmly, and then just like it's just like says, "Come quickly," and like pulls you through alleyways, and it's like what like through back alleyways and everything, and then finally gets to a like wrought iron fence, and lifts the handle on the latch and opens it, and it seems like it's the basement of like a home of like some row houses, and then goes over to a cellar door and then stomps on it 3 times in rapid succession, and then a one loud stomp, and then it opens, and you see just some like very much oh God, what's that actor? Very skinny guy. Just recently was the news, was in Supernatural. DJ Qualls, like very skinny DJ Qualls type guy. Just looks around and then nods at Langfisk. And then Langfisk takes Lord Grey down into the cellar, and then there is another door that goes down a few more steps, and there is this little like underground, like abandoned metro tube where you can hear there are people doing different kind of like gambling tables and things like craps tables, roulette, and all that stuff, and cards. And then just walks over to this corner booth, and then just sits down and waits patiently. And then somebody comes over and he just looks and says, "Usual for me, and a bottle of claret for this one, please." And a warm bottle of gin is brought over, sat down with a glass, and then a bottle of wine, red wine, is set down for you with a glass, and then opened and poured, aerated, all that stuff like that.
Of course.
And then Langfist just downs it. Eyes go wide, and then leans back, and it's just like, okay.
Are you feeling better now?
Already? Yeah,
Listen,
actually. Pardon me, my lord. It's the blue cunt again.
you're joking.
Fingerprints all over the show. There was a photograph.
Disgusting. Photograph. Did you see it, or?
I heard about it. That's enough to scare me.
God. And I think actually, like, you see him shoot his wine, take it, like, just a beat, pour some of the gin into his wine glass, and put it down. Think about it. Pour some gin into your glass, put it down. And he just shoots it again.
Shoots it back.
Shoots it back, just unfazed. He was a party boy. Just. Is this what you usually do to relax? Is this where you are when when I don't see you? Just seems a bit hard to stumble upon by accident.
I take my free hours here and other places like this across the city. Yes, my lord.
Interesting. It's not my chosen pastime, but I can see the appeal. Why do you do it?
I enjoy the noise because where I came from is mighty quiet out in the bush. And the quiet can be very loud. So all the noise, people losing, winning, it's very distracting. Keeps me calm. instead of being on edge all the time. I like to use the edge for work, making sure that you get what you need, laundry and the such. It helps.
There are other ways to take the edge off.
Indeed. I typically do not drink, my lord. I typically just take it all in, or substances and I do not get quite along with each other.
Oh.
No. But I felt she's everywhere, so
She is. There are other things other than substances that take the edge off. But I understand here might not be the place for that. And it might not be the time, since she's clearly involved with every fucking thing we're doing. Could we burn down her house? Maybe we could do that.
it would take some time, but I could probably find enough people kindling fuel. The thing would be making it look like an accident, but I'm sure if there's
right.
maybe a stable nearby, can make it look like a horse kicked over a lantern.
That's something to keep in mind. But she might be smart enough to not be home when it happens, and that would be terribly unfortunate.
I think at this point, I think you've done a good job triggering the vulnerable move. Lord Grey, you can probably make a good case for clearing She's in My Head.
Yay!
Langfisk, you just have suspicious. Do you feel like you've cleared that, or is that still a thing?
I think in the sense of like, instead of being suspicious of like everybody, I think now Langfisk has a more clear direct that it's not suspicion, it's confirmed that she's getting involved. Like there's just more and more clues that are piling up. This woman is involved with these things. And so Langfisk's probably autistic. But that's not a thing at this time. Brain is just like, I'm seeing the dots and I'm seeing connections and everything, and coincidences do not exist, especially not in a world like this. I know this for a fact. Knows it for a fact. And so it's like I'm not suspicious anymore. I'm direct. I'm hunting now. I'm ranging.
That sounds good. And then think about which of the bonuses you want, Langfisk. Either invite the question about your past or find a clue.
I will invite a question about my past. We got a bunch of clues.
Lord Grey, think about your question.
Oh, I will.
Tim, I'm going to give you an option here. Well, how about this? I'm going to let you add that fishman mask to your personal quarters. And if you decide to look through its eyes, anything you see, rolls will be taken with sensitivity. Because I think this is also like a sort of medium of communication with the creature in a sense, right? It's almost like a sympathetic object in a sense. For those of you who are into witchcraft, I'm curious, what do you do after you've sort of pushed aside the entities without, or not without giving them a little something, a little taste? What do you do?
I know this is a stretch, but given like the new sentiment for it, can I try communicating with the creature?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, very much. Absolutely. It's going to be a sensitivity roll, an information move with sensitivity. I think that's pretty fantastic. I do want to know what it looks like. And are you going to mark the mask or mark that? Not the Janice mask. Are you going to mark the fish mask? Yeah.
I just wrote it up. Might as well go ahead and check it. I would like to go ahead and use it.
Fantastic. So what does this give us? I always like to know what it's like. What does it feel like? How do you know you're making contact?
well, to the outside looks like a grown man playing pretend by himself in the middle of public. It's this soft talking, very gentle, like one would talk to like a dog or a pet with uh simple care. Um Almost calling it like, where are you? I know you're here. Well, there's something. Are you scared? It's just that
I
repeated
love it.
over and over.
Yeah, roll. That's great.
Hot diggity. It's a +1 to use the item, right? Or is it advantage?
It's advantage. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Should be a good roll for you because sensitivity is high for you.
That'll be a 10.
10. Fantastic. I think it's not a perfect communication in the sense that it can't talk really, or at least it can't communicate in a language in a way that you would probably understand. But you can definitely pick up on its emotions. The principal emotion that you feel from it is it's heartbreak. It's sad. It's heartsick. And it doesn't understand why people are scared of it. So there's also like a bit of confusion as well. The thing is, not to get too shape of water about it, but the thing is quite sympathetic, I would say. Yeah. But your clue is the heart sickness. What do you, I'm curious just how you process that. What do you do, Tim?
First of all, just kind of has a moment of like, feeling those emotions kind of spread and eke. I don't know how much you can take from me, but I can help you if you wish.
I don't think that there is a perfect understanding with what you're trying to convey to it.
Mm-hmm.
You get that sense of confusion again, but you also get the sense that it feels safe with you. And I'm going to give you a condition, but it's not necessarily a bad condition. It takes up space like a condition, but you can burn the condition to get advantage on a roll. And the condition is it's going to be marked by the creature, but it is usable for advantage if you it's the equivalent of you using this bond that you've made, that you've forged. And I hate that I use the word bond because I famously hate bonds in PBTA style games. But in this case, it's a good one.
So this is distinctively a condition that you can burn and not a
It is
bond.
exactly. It's not a bond. Fantastic. I want to know. I mean, this is a game inspired by Penny Dreadful in large part, and famously the first or second episode, I think it's the first episode of Penny Dreadful, when Dr. Frankenstein, he's brought the child to life, and we have this moment of, the child's like learning Shakespeare or some shit. Like, what is your first day with the child like? What does it look like? What are you doing? Like, what's happening here?
I think we see the child, who is, I think, young in appearance. The whatever the flesh terrarium did, right? It created this kind of cohesiveness on top of all the body parts. We see a probably 13 or 14-year-old girl that he is like, he's a long gown for. He is like sitting them in front of a mirror. He is combing through their hair, like clearing out bits of flesh and fat and detritus from them. And there is like I think don't hear anything, but we see in the mirror the two of them framed. He is kind of explaining what he is doing. He'll do it for a little bit. He'll hand her the comb and ask her to do it. He's just kind of explaining what each of the items are. And they seem to be fairly astutely nodding along. They're at least able to pick up and mimic things. But we don't see them, I think, say anything at this point in time. It's a lot of just receiving and taking in information about just basic self-care, kind of silhouetted against this horrifying backscene of the vanity, like of the laboratory. We have this like tucked away vanity in the corner that is, I think, probably mildly feminine, but also from the perspective of Knox, who really has no idea what that should mean, right? So probably a number of things that like other people in the house have discarded that he is like kind of just collected over time and placed here in hopeful preparation for this moment. But he is literally just helping them get ready, and I think we see them like tip a cup of coffee and some biscuits over to them. But it is just almost as if a father helping their child get ready for a day at school or something else so far.
This is such a sweet episode. Gosh, how am I going to mess this up in the night phase? Fantastic. Let's conclude this scene with Langfisk and Lord Grey, and then I think that will conclude our day phase. What's the question?
So, unless Langfisk is in a hurry to leave, Lord Grey isn't. This place is novel. It's interesting. He's here to drink gin. And like hang out. The bottle of wine might get drank, but the gin is much more novel and interesting, even if it's warm. Good fucking God. And eventually he just you mentioned the bush. What were you doing out there, like before you got here? It's a very long way. What were you even were you just sort of in the like sort of like a wild man, or like what? I don't know what the bush is like. I'm gonna be frank with you. I don't. It seems like it has bugs in it.
Bugs, some the size of your hand or your head. Dingoes, roos, awful creatures. In the garden, they've got a whole colony-wide ban on them. Well, not ban on them, but hunt on sight. Snakes, deadly fish on the coast. There's a bug. I've already said bugs. Yeah. The bush. Yeah. It's a wild and wonderful place. It's flat as far as the eye can see, unless there's the occasional mountain that juts out. It's wild red dirt with scabs of patches of green. But it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The people there are beautiful. It's much more civilized than the cities in Australia, especially on the coast. They're wild livestock ranchers and hunters and work crews, and they're awful people, and they're all greedy. And they have so much, and they keep away from people, the original people, the dreaming people that live there. And me and some friends, we were a wild group. We did a lot of bad things. But then we tried to make up for those bad things and help out our family. And so we went bush ranging isn't necessarily a career choice. It's a lifestyle. You've decided to shirk the responsibilities and the restrictions of civilized life within city confines to live amongst the land, to dream, to understand who you are. You grow your beard out. You sleep under the stars. But then also sometimes you kill people. You rob them blind. You take them for what they are, but you disperse it. You tell yourself that you're a good person because you give it to your family and those around you. But no, you take. I never was one for the killing of people. That was always
Oh.
I was always the leaders. My head friend, I guess you could say. That was always his joy. Mine was the numbers, the counting, the math part of it. I was also the only one of them that could bloody read, so I wrote the letters and everything. You know, ransom notes and everything. We've taken hostages from this bank. Send us, let us free passage and all that good stuff. But that was before you found me. It was a long time ago. And it was a lifetime ago.
An interesting lifetime.
They sing songs about it,
About you?
No, not me. No.
Oh.
No.
That you know of.
Maybe.
Fantastic. Is that scene?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. That will conclude the day phase as well. Let's go ahead and click over to the desk. See what we have to do here. Okay, do we have any playbook moves that resolve in the dusk? I think maybe it's just your night work and such.
My moves start in the
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, during the dusk phase for night work, do you want to do night work tonight? Third night in a row.
I'm trying to figure out if it makes. Glad I just made my child. I'm gonna go trot out. I know it's an indefinite thing. No, I don't think it makes sense to do night work tonight as much as I love to do night work. So I think we're gonna pass tonight on that.
However, you can put the Resurrectionists in play again. Go ahead and pick 2 things that you're going to want from them. And I think that's it for Dusk.
No,
moves.
there's a new move that I took with my last advancement that now, with every night work, there must come a day work as well.
Oh, indeed, indeed. You spend most days caring for Hargrave House, tidying up, managing accounts, answering callers. Each dusk phase, please choose one of your options.
I am going to go with you learn something interesting about an active threat. I will ask you any question I like. You will answer truthfully and completely, or in the form of a clue. So you can choose.
Okay, which question?
Trying to spread wild oats all over the place and try to cover as much ground as possible here.
So a Sally question then?
Yeah, it's a Sally related question here.
You've seen her.
Yeah, and we saw the state of Miss Yarborough and everything, or we saw Miss Yarborough's apartment and everything. Have there been any reports of like people hanging around that area in like the lead up to her death? Was there like any reports of like people like spending time or like casing the joint at all? Thinking that criminal brain.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I have to answer in a way that it's something you could have learned while looking after your duties in Hargrave House. And I'm going to answer your question thusly. You have, at some point, maybe it probably wasn't today because you've been out today, but in the days leading up to tonight, you've had a lot of house calls. People showing up as if they are meant to be at Hargrave House doing some work. A caterer showed up at one point talking about a party that is to be held on a certain night, and of course you turn them away because nobody throws parties in Hargrave House. It's like someone is planning to use Hargrave House for something, and no one's told anyone in Hargrave House about it. And since I have to answer truthfully and completely, you've also seen that obnoxious, well-dressed little boy that tried to kill Kip hanging around Hargrave House as well. Sally has plans. Very well. With all that said, let's keep going with the dusk phase. Let's talk about Hargrave House, shall we? Let's talk about the reception hall. Feels apt. Do you feel unsettled or at home when you enter Hargrave House? What do you see in the grand reception hall that reinforces this feeling?
I think most places, as long as they are up to par, Lord Grey feels at home in, because he feels like he owns everything he walks into, but especially Hargrave House. Despite incidents, this is a place that feels relatively safe, and there are like beautiful decorations in the reception room, but there's a mirror that faces the door just like adjacently that everyone can see themselves as they walk in. It's partially vanity. It's also partially that mirrors can sometimes show things that aren't there physically. And when it's just him and he looks like he's supposed to, things feel right.
Early on in Hargrave's house, Knox feels at home at Hargrave House. Early on, um, uh, there was a slight tradition amongst the hunters to have the remains of those who passed embalmed in place in presentation in some of the alcoves here as if they were statues. And Knox has spent an extensive amount of time staring at the way that many of them were articulated in actions from their life.
I think for similar reasons, Tim feels unsettled when it comes to the hall. There's a pair of child shoes that's never been claimed in a corner. He's never seen anybody wear or at least pick up, and it just chills them to the bone.
I think similarly to the description of like the sports betting places and like those kind of like underground bars, I think the reception hall has the door. And the door is constantly being knocked on. There's constantly things being dropped off. And it's not even things for Lord Grey. It's things for other Hargrave House members. It's different callers, it's letters, it's things. Whoever, if there's a room that needs to be delivered, Langfisk has taken it upon himself to take care of it. But that's structure, that's order, that's calm to him. That's work. That's not monsters. So it's nice and refreshing.
Fantastic. Let's keep going. All right. The dusk phase. Do you want to answer a question?
I think we have some good options, right?
You have 4 clues for your complexity 4 creature of Cromorn Gardens question. Don't have quite enough clues, I don't think, for Sally. I mean, you can technically make a stab at a couple of them, but it would be really tough rolls. The King in Shadows, you've got 2 very good clues about answering that question. It's still only 2 clues, but
We actually
they're
have
2 really,
3
really good
clues because
ones.
I thought I had written the
Oh,
my
you have a
free
couple of
clue in
free-floating
there.
ones.
I think it just
Yeah,
may be one over. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. You can, that one, that the theatrical mask shaped like the jester that you got from the previous resurrectionist, you can move that over. So you have 3 there. Yeah, that's great. Anybody want to take a stab at any of these? It looks like we lost Wes too, but it's okay. We'll catch Wes up.
I mean, I think we could take a stab at the creature of Cromorn Gardens. Maybe once Wes returns, maybe not. I don't know what the vibe is on that. I feel like they usually have very good. Oh, their cat turned off their PC.
Oh no. We'll catch Wes up. We're about to go on a break anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
But I mean, honestly, these 4 clues, and especially with all that added context of the scene with Tim, I mean, it's kind of obvious what the creature wants, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, anybody wants to formalize it? I mean, please do.
Come on, Tim. You were there.
I think it wants companionship.
I think it does too. Yeah.
It's a little woey.
I mean, let's look at the clues. You've got a sketch of 3 people holding hands in a circle in the Thames. That's intriguing. You do have an image of a person drowning in the ocean. That's reflected a little bit as well in the sailor's hymn, the sailor trying to find their lost love. And then there's just the general feeling of heart sickness from the creature. I mean, it works for me.
Yeah.
I agree. It feels right. Oh, and they're back.
Wes, I mean, we've landed on the pretty obvious solution to the creature of Cromorn Gardens, that it wants companionship. It's looking for love in all the wrong places right now.
Poor thing.
And all the clues line
I mean,
up pretty nicely with
I
it.
agree. I agree completely. What do you want me to say? Yeah,
I don't
of
know,
course
but we're
agree.
just catching you up. So, who wants to roll dice if we all agree with this?
I mean, this
Yeah.
feels like a Tim roll or a Langfist roll, given the.
One of you
legwork.
two. You guys did the most
Yeah.
thing. It's wet. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, Tim, roll it.
All right.
Roll it.
Oh boy. So it's just 2d6 flat.
Flat.
All right. Oh, my dice have been good to me tonight. Please stay good to me. Take my no whammies.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's a 6.
That's cruel.
I get to react. If you don't bump up this die roll, I will do a pretty hard reaction. I will tell you that my hard reaction is going to be that the creature is captured by someone else, and
Oh no.
it becomes a sort of like
Pawn.
bad situation for the creature in
Ooh.
London.
I mean, I'm gonna put on a mask for this water freak.
Yeah, I'll put on a mask of the past.
Oh yeah.
I'll put on a mask for this aquatic freak. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put on a mask for this wet freak.
Very well then, because you all put on a mask, I won't put any extra spin on the correct answer. You are correct. You now have the ability to lure it to you and convince it to go away, or if you want to destroy it, you also have that option. that's also on the table. So you're good to go there.
Does it want to be on the payroll? Can we
Exactly.
Can we add it?
Yeah, good. Just build an aquarium.
Exactly.
Drop 'em
Just
in there.
gotta,
I love it.
Permanent tub fixture, just keep it fresh and everything.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's keep going with our phase here. Well, okay, so here's the thing. I would normally ask you what you all want to do, but I have a plan for you for this night phase. So I'm interested in hearing what you're interested in doing, but don't fall too in love with your actions or
Oh,
too
man
committed
alive.
to them. Langfisk, what do you want to do tonight?
Uh, Langfisk had a little bit of a good time with the gin, and I think we do see a Langfisk who like brings Lord Grey back to the house and is
Mhm.
like, "Damn, that gin did taste good." Uh, and I do so work so hard. So laissez, fucking let the good times roll, baby. Let's go to the Night Tap. I heard about this secret place called the Night Tap.
Oh, very interesting. Very
Mm,
interesting.
yeah.
Lord Grey, what is your plan for the night phase?
I'm drunk as fuck and probably gonna go wherever Langfist wants to go. I think that's like the vibe of just like, yeah, let's do it. Like you get to see like decades ago before you met him, he was definitely like
Hmm.
bar hopping party boy.
Hmm. Tim?
The shape of water, this water creature.
You're gonna try to draw it to you, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you gonna ask anyone for help or you're just gonna be like, Tim's got this?
I don't
He's
know.
got it.
I love it. Knox, what do you think?
Um, can I put a little spin on one of my resurrectionist prompts? Can I
Sure.
can I ask Carly, one of the resurrectionists, to babysit the child so I can go
Oh,
help?
sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
We'll,
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
burn one on that also too. That's then I think I will after we get the child tucked away, I will go. I'll probably go with Tim.
Fantastic. The unseen. Let's introduce the unseen and then we'll take our break. I wanna find a thematically appropriate unseen. What would that be here? There may not be a good one left. Oh, sure there is. The Billingsgate Fish Market. The fish market at Billingsgate. This is line 41 on the far left. The Billingsgate Fish Market. The fish market at Billingsgate, within the bounds of the city of London itself, is the largest in the world. Even in the dead of night, it is a hive of activity as the porters, traders, and fishwives prepare for the return of the trawlermen rather, before the sun rises over the Thames. Stalls are scrubbed ready for the day's catch, and lamps lit on the wharves. There are four options here. Prompt 1 will be for Vyn. Prompt 2 will be for B. Prompt 3 will be for Wes. And everybody does prompt 4. Why don't we take 5 minutes, and when we get back, I'm going to show you what it means for the night phase to belong to me.
We'll be back in just 1 second for the night phase. And we are live playing the Between and going into the night phase where Jason is. What did you say before we went to break? Now you'll teach us what it means that you own the night.
Yes. My saying is the day phase belongs to you, the night phase belongs to me, and tonight it really belongs to me.
Awesome.
It actually really belongs to the occluded king, but we'll talk about him later. For now, the Billingsgate Fish Market. Vyn, David Mendez, a Sephardic Jew, has a stall selling battered fish and chipped potatoes deep fried in a vat of oil. Workers on their way home from a late shift stop for a hot meal. Who stops by and what do they vent about as David prepares their food?
There's this older gentleman, since everyone knows it's Mark M, some variation of the name. And tonight he's just so woeful about missing his family, and specifically his daughter growing up and having to go out and fish and provide for them. He's missing out on key moments of her development.
And Wes, in the background of that scene at the fish and chips stall, reality is subtly distorting. What would the keen observer notice?
It seems like you can hear the pitter patter of rain a little bit. And then you realize that it's not rain, but it's small, tiny baby squids hitting the stall tents over and over. And when they hit, they splash apart like jellied raindrops.
I know what that's a reference to. There's a commotion down in the reception hall of Hargrave House. So many people roaming around, clumping, stomping. There's one person who seems to be in charge of all of it, clapping their hands. All right, people, let's go, let's go. We got to get this next scene going. This man walks right up to you, Langfisk, and is like, what's going on, Franks? Did you actually drink? It's your character who's supposed to be drunk, not you. All right, people, I don't have time for this. Come on, let's get moving, please. Can we get the 5-minute warnings? Bum 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 bum.
5-minute warnings. What the devil's going on here? What the look?
5 minutes, Mr. Vacinda. Bum 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 bum. 5 minutes, B. And so forth. All right, here we go. Act 2, Scene 1. Sally No Face's party at Hargrave House. We open the scene with who brought their fucking phone on set? Oh my god. What are you all doing right now?
I think Lord Grey's just standing in the fucking reception area, like watching this and just aghast at these people, doesn't even know what the fuck the rest of what they mean, and is just like and looking around for someone to blame. Like, which one of you invited all of these people? Which one? What is this?
Knox, the child, is looking in the mirror. I'm happy I can still pull off 13. I don't know how much longer, though. These teenage parts, I mean, I'm 27.
Debatably, yes, pieces of you are. I mean, debatably, you're also 6 hours old. I mean, what do you mean?
Tim, in your dressing room, The actor playing the creature puts on the rubber mask. He's like, "What do you think?"
It's very convincing.
I know it's not our scene yet, but this is really good, right?
Oh, yes, yes. And he's kind of confused, but just the mask altogether, and it's trying to be very polite about it.
Okay, so the scene is Langfisk is up in his small servant's quarters, trying to sober up enough to continue on with his night, when the dapper boy enters with his thugs to knock him out with ether. Where is the dapper boy? Please tell me that's not actually ether.
Dapper boy? What ether? What the hell are you talking about there, mate? Dapper boy ether? Please, I'd like to see somebody knock me out, please.
You wake up from a slumber to see that well-dressed boy and a group of large men. The well-dressed boy says, "Well, good evening to you, sir." And here we'll go back to the Billingsgate Fish Market. B. Maggie Dillon is a fishwife of middle years with a lifetime's experience in the market. As the catch comes in and she bargains with trawlermen and customers, how do we see that this is her domain and she refuses to fit the mold of genteel womanhood?
We see a wide shot of the fish market, and the first thing we hear is Maggie yelling, "All right, everyone, get in line, like, come on, one orderly line." And it's just, she is, and everyone's listening to her. And now that we see her a little up closer, she's dressed very practically. She has like riding pants on that are clearly they've been worked in for a long time. She's got the apron on to keep the fish guts, off. And she's like, "I told you, it's money or fish or nothing. Get that bottle out of here. Hell, you've been drink. Get the fuck out of here." And is just absolutely telling these people what to do, where to go, how to be. And they're all listening, even the sort of more disorderly ones. And no one questions her. This is her fish market.
Tony, how is reality distorting in the background?
As the trawlerman and everyone else falls into line behind Maggie's instructions, they each take on a elevated mode of dress as if they were butlers or servants in waiting to her largesse.
Some minutes before Langfisk is accosted by the dapper boy and his thugs, the rest of you hear a string quartet playing downstairs in the reception hall. How unusual. To the best of my knowledge, no one ordered a string quartet to accompany the evening's activities. What do you all do, Lord Grey?
Are we all in the same room?
No, you're all in your own private quarters now.
I'm getting the fuck out of here, and I am going to go find the nearest person that is not utterly batshit. Like, to me, this is untenable. This is beyond. And I'm out, and it looks like absolutely like a diva actor. Like, coming out of his dressing room, slamming his fucking door behind him, and just, like, Fisk! Tim! Anyone? Please?
Someone from the shadows says, "Go down the stairs now. You're supposed to go down the stairs."
Excuse you?
You're supposed to go down the stairs and investigate the music playing.
Who
The music is playing frantic. It's swelling. Nox, you can hear it even from up in your tower.
Darling, I was planning on having just a quiet night for you while I worked on a few things, but it appears we're having a party. Would you like to go, or would that be too overwhelming?
Does she vocalize yet? Like, what
I
is
mean,
that
you just
like?
had her vocalize. We have not seen her vocalize.
We have not seen her vocalize in
Other
character,
than
at
as
least.
the actress version. So I mean, I will leave that in your hands. But I
This
mean,
one, the child just sort of like hears the music and stands up and starts doing a, like a Tay in the wind thing, like kind of, back and forth, like listening to the music. It's faint from all the way up in the bell tower, but she seems to like it.
yes, no, absolutely. We can stay here and dance or go down. But I mean, yes. He starts to just dance around with her.
Oh, very good. Tim, you hear the music as well. What do you do?
They're gonna investigate against their better judgment.
When you get downstairs, you see that the reception hall of Hargrave House has been transformed. The music is coming from a string quartet that is playing furiously, ceaselessly. Each of their faces has been wrapped with bandages that appear to be seeping blood. There are people standing on little plinths all around the reception hall. They're wearing beautiful finery, hats and gowns, but their faces, oh my God, their faces. Some of them have their faces marked, perhaps where Sally is going to make her cuts. Others have their faces fixed in place, and others seem to have faces that don't belong to them at all. And they just sort of stand there. Terror and pain reading through the eye holes. I would like the night move, Tim. What are you afraid is going to happen right now?
I'm afraid that my face is going to get removed.
It is worse than that. It is going to get removed, and it is going to get replaced. If you wish to continue roaming around this little exhibit, roll with composure, please.
Could I possibly use the final note of an opera singer sealed with wax?
Oh, I love that. How is it helping you?
Probably to help stop the orchestra with that haunting note since they can't see.
Oh, good. I see. Just to assert some control over the situation. I love that.
Yes.
You can roll with advantage. I don't think any of your conditions apply, so yeah, take that at advantage.
Okay. And I'm rolling with what move?
I think it's the night move with composure.
Gotcha. All right, that's flat, but that's okay. That is a 7.
Fantastic. Lord Grey, before you get too much further, someone runs out of the shadows and says, "You're supposed to be wearing this mask," and they're like putting a mask on your face, and another one's like putting a fabulous cloak. It's a quite fabulous cloak around your shoulders. "You have to make your grand entrance at the party. It's what
How
Sally wants.
Dare
You're the guest of honor. Go, 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 go."
And I think whoever puts the thing on him last, it's fucking shoved into the wall. He listens to them though. That's the worst part, is that he shoves them into the wall. "How dare you touch me?" And then realizes there is nowhere else to go but down. And is like, "All right, fuck it. I am good at entrances."
Langfisk, the dapper boy. The men are holding you down while the dapper boy tries to knock you out with a cloth. What do you do?
Does this dapper boy or any of these gentlemen have exposed skin?
Sure.
I'm gonna try to bite for it. If we can get a vein, a jugular, or a femoral
Just
artery or something, just try
just
to
bite.
just bite.
Bite. Yeah, you can bite one of the thugs to get free.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's going to be the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
That they'll muzzle me.
It's worse than that. You'll be knocked out, and you will be out of commission for the night phase, leaving Lord Grey to the tender mercies of Sally No Face. You don't really have much choice here, so please go ahead and roll with vitality. At least it's an easy roll for you.
Uh, Could I make an argument that I could use the taxidermied alligator that I knock into this goon enough that like I'm knocking into this taxidermy gator that it like
Knocks him off
like
balance a little
it
bit.
knocks
Yeah.
him off balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
into it. Yeah.
Okay. Sick. Yeah, it's just chilling in the corner of my room. Just
Love it.
oh god, here we go.
I mean, when will you get another chance to use such a thing?
I've been trying to think of ways to to figure it out, and this is the time, I think. That is a 10.
Fantastic. Be thinking about what your escape looks like. We're going back to the Billingsgate Fish Market. Wes, Bridget McKenna is a kitchen maid, one of the first customers to arrive at the market. As she moves between the stalls, how do we see she is desperate to impress her master?
Bridget is moving through bonnet, bobbing in between the bodies of the rest of these people in the market, and she goes, "Oh, tut tut, I know took too much time at the grocer's trying to find something here. Maybe I don't know, the tuna, does that seem a bit too on the nose? Tuna, is that plain? How do I know the difference between a fish and a fish? They all look the same to me." And then she sees a row of what could be considered like rainbow trout. These like brilliant scales that shine in the light, and they're kind of small. And she looks at the fishmonger and she goes, "How good is this, sir?" And the fishmonger turns and looks at her and goes, "Well, that's the best fish I have. That's catch of the day. Catch of the day every day, my love." And she goes, "Is it now?" And he goes, "Why don't you try for yourself?" And she goes, "Well, I didn't know that you had chefs here or anything preparing food." He goes, "No, no, no. The way that you truly know if a fish is a proper fish is by tasting it right out of the ocean. One of its pals. They catch fish all together, big nets scooping them up. So if you taste one of them, the rest of them are sickly. Why don't you give a taste of these and you'll know exactly how good these fish are." And she goes, I don't know if I can. And he goes, "Guess you'll never know then, sweetling." Goes back to what he's doing. She thinks of her master and how hard he works during the day and how much she wants to impress him and make sure that he has a good meal. Him and his wife's anniversary is coming up, and she might make it special for them. She goes, "I'll do it then." He turns and he goes, "Fair. Go ahead. This one. It's a bit little. It's not the best of the bunch, but you'll get a good taste of it." She looks at the fish, its cold, dead eyes staring up out of her, a mouth that moves when jostled, almost like it's gasping for air. She looks at it, takes her time bringing it to her lips, and crunches into it, hearing the squelching and the crunching of bones. She makes a sour face. "Oh, you got salt in your blood, don't you, lass? Nobody's ever fallen for that one before, but I say that you were the first one to fall for that one. That takes the cake, my dear." She spits the fish piece out. She turns red, and she drops the basket with some of the other ingredients and runs off crying.
B, How is reality distorting in the background?
This fishmonger that Bridget has been speaking to, he's having a good time as she runs away. This is the first time this joke has worked. And as he laughs, he, like, something kind of catches in his throat and he coughs and he can't get it out. And he coughs again and he swears to God he tastes blood. And he coughs one more time and a fish bone comes out. Multiple fish bones. And he just keeps pulling. And then his teeth come with it on the fish's spine. And we pan away.
Knox, you realize after, you spin the child around and, you're kind of like maybe catching your breath a little bit. You notice that the lurker is up in the rafters watching this. There is a single little blood drop tear dribbling down his pale cheek. The lurker crawls down the wall and says, I do not know if what you have created is truly life, but I wonder if perhaps my definition of the word is somewhat limited. Perhaps there is something here better than life. Perhaps family is what you make. What do you do?
I think Knox. How is the child responding to the lurker?
The child doesn't have the context
It's just
necessarily
another.
needed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's just another person
want to
in
make
the,
sure.
in the
Cool,
bell
yeah.
tower. Yeah.
I think I like pat this little like made away bed that's next to the vanity for the child and like pat it on one side and I like pat it on the other and I look at the lurker and like encourage them to come sit. And Doc starts singing just this song that his mother or Charles would sing when he was very young to put him to bed. And is singing it really kind of to both of them. Like, even though the lurker is significantly older, there's more of an invitation here, like, if the lurker knows to kind of sing along and have this moment of family, of tucking the child into bed.
Yeah, I like that. We'll just kind of leave that there for now. Tim, as you're making your way through this exhibit, this party, whatever it is, you walk past a man in a tuxedo standing on one of these little plinths, and the skin of his face has been stretched back and pinned with large pins to hold it in place. And he's trying to mutter something, but it's hard to tell because his mouth is so stretched that it just makes the lips difficult to move. Very good. But he's definitely trying to get your attention. He's like, what do you do?
I go over, like, non-threatening, eager to help, just in that kind of elevated panic that's one reserved for like an emergency.
He's trying to tell you something, but his voice is too low, too quiet. Do you lean in to listen?
Yeah.
Kill me. Kill me. Please kill me. Lord Grey,
Yes.
you get down to the bottom of the steps. You see more of these people on display. You see the quartet with their bloody bandaged faces playing furiously. You see various people situated. Someone in the shadows says, "Okay, walk up to the first one and look at it with a look of disgust on your face. Go."
Don't tell me what to do. And in fact, he will walk past the first one, thank you, with just the best imitation of like a stone cold. He like has a resting bitch face and always kind of looks disgusted. So he kind of accidentally listens, but that's just how he looks at everything. And walks past the first one and the second
I want the
one.
night move here. What
Yes,
are you afraid is going
please.
to happen right now if you lose your composure here?
I'm afraid that I'm going to like get so embroiled in this that whatever the fuck's going on with these people will happen to me and I'll just kind of get puppeted around and not actually have free will.
Oh, boy, how's it going to be worse than that? I don't know. That's pretty good.
Oh no, that's not good. That's not good when you say that.
Roll with composure. Let's take a look at your conditions. Actually, I think because you shook She's in My Head, I'm not going to make you roll at disadvantage. So
Okay, I don't have anything that could give me advantage here. So we're just gonna do a flat roll and see what happens, y'all. All right. That's a 7.
very good. Langfisk, please describe how you escape the situation.
Langfisk struggles as he's being held down by a couple of goons, um, and then notices the taxidermied gator and tries to shift over. One of the goons pushes him down to the ground, which gives him enough room with his leg to sweep the gator, and it falls on top of one of them, trapping him underneath. The other one steps back and gets caught over. Langfist leaps forward and pushes him up against the wall. His pant leg rips on like the bed, we'll say, and Langfist sees that and then looks at this dapper boy and says, "Not today, not like this." And we'll say his hands are bound too, and goes and like just tries to shove past, and he gets grabbed by that goon by his hair and yanked back onto the ground and hits the floor. And the goon scrambles on top, tries to scramble on top of him, and Langfisk is shifting around, sees a bit of flesh that's right there in that thigh, the femoral artery, and just tears into it and just chews and chews and chews, and then just hears the squelching and the crunching, and then pulls out, and then the goon starts screaming, and then Langfist looks over at the dapper boy, just blood and muscular all over the face, and just spits it in the dapper boy's face and tries to push past and run for the door.
You're now standing outside that scene looking at it with the director who says, "This stunt guy we got's pretty good, right?"
Look, stun guy, I don't know. What are you doing? What's happening?
We need you in the next scene. Come on, Lord Grey's about to be attacked by Sally No Face. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hustle, hustle, hustle.
I'm gonna turn and just immediately use my person Friday
Very
to
good.
just
Be
say,
there.
just shut the fuck up, and then push past, and then just like run through a wall like it's just set dressing, just like that canvas that's been painted, and just go through right into the next scene.
I love it. Our final stop at the Billingsgate Fish Market. Everyone, please paint the scene. Before dawn has broken, the market is already bustling. Describe a moment in which the loud, messy industry of the market reflects that of London as a whole.
I think one of the first things we see is like this is also a thoroughfare for people who are shipping goods from the port. Like it's really close. And we see these two guys like carrying a pane of glass and fucking Looney Tune style, someone is driving like a small cart and just crashes through it. And the guys are pissed. Everybody's upset. The horse is upset, but it's already done.
Just like the city, it's just utter pandemonium. Ass up, tail down, whatever. Just a lot of bustling that doesn't make sense, but somehow does make sense. Both cohesive and chaotic, like the city.
You see a stream of blood mixed with water that trickles through the market, bisecting it. And you can see bits of bone and viscera floating in it, much like the Thames itself.
I think as we pull back on that, this dripping water, and we see the pandemonium and chaos that Vyn was describing, all of a sudden it slaps into a sense of clarity as you can see the gentle way that people maneuver around one another in a delicate dance. And as we pull back even further again, we see the handsome cabs on the street, the people starting to head off to work as this even larger dance of the city starting to bustle in today.
And while all these people are walking back and forth, the carriages, the workers, the dock workers, all that stuff, they all just freeze in place. And we see Mrs. Brathwaite walking through them. She takes a cigarette out of the hand of one of the people frozen there. Puts it back in their hand, and then continues walking through the frozen crowd. Meanwhile, okay, this is the big moment, folks. Scene 3, Lord Grey. All right, so let's work this out. Lord Grey walks from person to person, looking at the various ghoulish, garish displays. Lord Grey sees a woman with her skin pulled back tight, as if what? This makes no sense. Never mind. Lord Grey keeps walking. Sees a person who appears to have had their face removed. The shock, the horror. Please look shocked and horrified.
Oh.
Finally, Lord Grey notices one of the people on display is wearing a smooth, featureless wooden mask. It's a woman in a beautiful black gown and a wide-brimmed hat, and a blank wooden mask. Lord Grey notices just a moment too late that they have a scalpel glinting in the candlelight in their hand. It's Sally No Face. She strikes. Sally leaps at you with the scalpel swiping. Tim, you're in another part of the ballroom with someone begging you to kill them. What do you do?
Are you sure that's what you want? I understand your circumstances are extreme, but I can't just kill someone. Y'all know he just killed somebody.
You get the writers in here. fix this inconsistency of the character, way the character's written.
If you can help me, I can help you.
Cut. Love it. Great scene. Good job, Tim. Love it. So great. That was really good. I really believe that. You were really selling it.
Sorry, what?
Lord Grey, Sally leaps at you with scalpel, but that's when Langfisk appears out of nowhere. When did that get added to the scene? Hello, who's writing this shit? Langfisk, what do? You see Sally leaping for Lord Grey.
Gonna roar out Langfisk. You probably see Langfisk, wild hair, mustache is covered in blood, whole face is covered in blood,
Ooh.
Henley shirt, just like it was in the process of getting changed when all this shit happened, just roars out and is bound by like the hands and everything, and is just going to try to human bullet and just like knock into this person into one of these grotesque displays, just roaring out, just like a wild animal, not a man right now.
I'm not even going to make you roll. I like just the chaos of this scene. Dr. Aspectum, your new little family up in the bell tower, the lurker, child. How are you feeling right now?
I think Nox is feeling oddly settled. Like, I mean, I don't think he feels any sort of distress at this moment, but if you were looking for a condition to apply, I think there's
Not necessarily.
I say
Just
there's almost like there's a moment where we like see in Nox's memory an almost identical moment in Home, like when he was growing up, of him in bed and Charles singing and his mother sitting next to them, like humming along, that is kind of superimposed on this moment in his mind. And it's very like anchoring. Classic Nox has no idea what the fuck everybody else is doing moment.
I love it. The actor playing the Limehouse Lurker gets back into the little wire harness and is hauled back up the wall to the height of the bell tower. The artificial candle light dims in the lab, and we see a spotlight sweep across the scene. And there, watching this scene, is Mrs. Brathwaite, her blue jewel shining, a smile on her face. And scene. Good job, everybody. Nice, nice. Give yourselves a round of applause. Really good work. That concludes the night phase.
What? What?
And so, let's go to the dawn. We're a little past time, so we can save dawn stuff for next time, along with our Janus masks if we wish, or we can power through. I'll leave that up to you all.
I'm fine. I'm fine getting through dawn phase.
That's one vote for dawn phase. All right, let's do it. Fantastic. It shouldn't take too long. We'll do the Janus masks at the beginning of next session. For now, though, let's click over to the dawn. All right. We'll sort out resurrectionists and such later. Let's go ahead and go to our dawn questions here. You all did answer a capital Q question. Everyone gets credit for that. Echoes in the night. I heard a couple. Langfist, did you get an echo?
Yeah, the biting into the fish, and then also
Really
like
good.
just biting into the thigh.
Oh, that was really good. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, that was quite good. Fantastic. Lord Grey.
I tried to have one with like this chaotic sort of production.
Oh
like,
yeah,
person.
yeah, I'm into it.
It was,
Yeah,
that was
I'm into it.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
into
you.
it. Yeah, Tim.
I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember. You had the fish salesman or the fish and chips guy, right?
Yeah, I was trying to top the woes of like childhood and rearing for Knox though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll think on it. Knox, did you get one?
I had the dance motif of the city and the
Oh yeah,
dancing,
yeah. Also, somebody was talking about their daughter at one point,
Yeah,
and I thought
yeah.
that was really good. I don't remember who did that, but that was a great echo. Fantastic. The character keeper is not working right now, so I'm not sure what's next in the dawn phase. I think, or we're still answering questions, I guess. Langfisk. Let's see here. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
Yeah, the sports betting bar that's in the secret cellar that I took.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did we get the subtle expression of desire for
Not. I mean, we
Lord
have
Grey?
before, but not
I don't think we did
recently.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knox, did you have a conversation with the child while no one was looking? Yes, you did.
It was one-sided for the most part, but yeah.
It works. Did you dismiss the possibility of a supernatural explanation despite everything you've experienced? Yes, you
I
did.
did.
And
While
did you
bringing
teach it?
someone to life using the supernatural powers.
Yeah, and did you teach the child a lesson about what it means to be human? I think the dancing
Yeah.
qualifies, absolutely. Lord Grey, did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the mundane? Yes, you absolutely did. Did you let someone touch you and then make them pay a price for doing so?
I'm not sure if like shoving the people like who fucking put the mask and shit on me counts. Like that was just I wasn't aiming for
You were
it.
just
That's just
flustered,
more.
yeah, you were
I
just
was like, I think
flustered.
that's just being flustered and a little shit.
Tim, did you perform a ritual? I don't.
I mean, the
Oh,
tarot cards and the mask.
Well, I think the fish mask thing counts. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with the dark entity? Same thing. I think because you put the mask on, I'm going to count that as face-to-face. Yeah, I think that's really good. Fabulous. Okay, now I don't remember what happens next in the dawn phase.
So we've got resolve any playbook moves, which we're going to just pick up on next
Well,
time.
next time, yeah.
This is no, it's still showing. Is this
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's the character keeper's messed up. Dawn questions. Maybe chat can help us out. I know Chaotic's in chat. Chaotic, what happens next in Dawn phase?
I mean, I think it's questions, advanced, and that's and
I guess that's it.
resolving moves. I
Yeah.
think that's it. And
Yeah.
so-
Okay. Well, in that case, and we're doing Jazz Mess next time. So let's just go to Stars and Wishes for that hectic, strange night phase. Whoever wants to go for it. And well, the day phase was really emotional. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'm always here to yap and tell you all how fabulous you are. First things first, Jason, holy fuck. Jason, holy fuck. What was that? That was the wild, like you were excited about it and I was excited about it because you were excited. Exceeded my expectations. That was the most bananas night phase I've ever seen anyone do. I can't even talk because it was so crazy. It was, and then you just cut it. It was seen. That was so, that was so good. That was so good. And the contrast between the really emotional day phase and then this really hectic, weird night phase. You've done a really good job of like pulling in this King in Shadows thing like really subtly. I really loved what you did with oh God, the second sighted boy, whose name I have instantly forgotten because
Greco.
thank you. So much happened. You melted my brain a little bit and I can't process things right now. Yeah, I loved what you did with like the line. That was really good. And I really the very intro where you like breathing heavy and it like super on purpose into the mic during this King in Shadows like intro. Oh, delicious, distressing, so good. That you combined two threats at once with Sally and the King in Shadows. Like we have her ball going on, and also there's like a producer telling us how to interact with it. Like that was very chaotic and very good, and I really, really loved it. Just 10 out of 10. Like I could gush about how wild and fun that was. That was really, really good. This was a really, really good session. Tony, oh my gosh, your entire thing with the child, like 100% lived up to expectation. Like there was all of this build up about this part of your playbook because it's like the thing, and just you sold it so well. It's so sweet. It was really like kind of refreshing to have this, like, even in the night phase, you had this really sweet, sincere, heartfelt interaction with two creatures. They're creatures. They're little people, but they're little critters too. And it was really, really lovely. It just felt very genuine. And this, I just, I loved the conversation you and Jason did with like the lurker and Knox about essentially parenthood. Like, that was really touching and really oh fuck intense. Like I was like, oh God, oh wow, it was really, really lovely. And I'm just very excited to I'm excited to meet the child in character. Like, who is this kid who's running around now? Who is this? Like, who's this? Oh, it's Knox's. And they just showed up out of nowhere. You've been a kid. You made a kid in that. Okay. So I really am very excited to have everyone interact with the child. I'm very excited. Very, very excited about this. And yes, Wes, I loved getting to do our our vulnerable scene. I love the description of this place that you took them to. Like that is whoa, that was like way cooler than I expected. You're always so good at describing fight scenes and physical places. Like your fight scene with the taxidermy alligator really did it for me. And just how visceral the ripping into the thigh was. Oh, delicious. But I think you're also very good at describing scenery and describing place. And it felt very real and very different than the place that we were before. And it was really interesting to see like Langfisk in his element, the warm gin, like, and getting to like talk about the bush and like the way you kind of like dodged past questions but still gave a lot of information. It was really, really good. It was delicious. And I just loved the pocket maneuver. That the fuck amazing. Then I love Tim. I love the conversations Tim has with all of the weirdest motherfuckers on the planet. And it's just, they're so nice about it. Just like, it's just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, are you okay? Like, to the wildest shit that's possible. Like, Tim is just absolutely almost like, maybe not like unfazable because Tim is quite phased, often very flustered, but like, can just sort of like bulletproof, like, well, this is fucked up. And moving on. How are we gonna help you, I guess, die? Like, that was really, really good. Like, you always make the most, like, interesting choices for Tim to do. Like, I'm gonna go interact with the most interesting person here, the most interesting thing. I'll keep the condition. I love your play style, Vyn. And I really love getting to see this contrast between how you play Tim and how you played Patrick. Like, it's really fun to get to see because they both interacted with monsters and the interactions are very different. And Tim's such a delight, just an absolute gem. And I can't wait to see this shape of water, like Grimorn Gardens creature thing. If Jason ever lets us, or if we are just permanently trapped in a play, we'll see.
It's not a star, but it's an observation. If we count the string quartet players wrapped up with bandages as a mummy, then we got all of the universal monsters in this section.
We've done it, gang.
They were absolutely
got them all.
between.
And
We're free.
And the invisible man's invisible. So we got them all. We don't know that he wasn't there. So yeah, I was really happy about that. Star for the I really, really loved kind of the situation with the creature and Tim. I really, really love that. It was so I don't know, like it I know we were like, kind of like joking like shape of water or whatever, but I kind of hope we get something on the same emotional scale as that, like with the two of them, because I think there's something really interesting there, and I like that Tim operates in this world in this kind of way, like this sort of like kind of operating like on a level of consciousness that's kind of like just one level, like kind of below like what everybody else is doing, kind of like reaching out and seeing people and things in a slightly different way, and it allows the character to sort of see things in a different way and communicate with things in a different way. And so I really love that. And then of course I was kind of like poking fun at it gently in the night phase, with this person like trying to like communicate with you, through their little weird face. Yeah, star for just all of you putting up with the night phase shenanigans. It was, I think it's something you can only get away with once, and I'm glad we did it. I do think, as a wish, I think it's going to be imperative that all of your characters essentially like make no reference to any of that stuff. Like they only make reference to the events of the actual like production, like the party and all that stuff happened, but there's no memory of like the production part of it behind the scenes, certainly not someone's Nokia going off in the middle of the of our grave house. So but it was really good. I appreciate you all taking that weird little ride. Star for I really enjoyed the scene between Lord Grey and Langfisk post chapel. I thought that was really enjoyable. Yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. And star for everything with the child. I feel like we're getting such an excellent payoff. I think this is the first time I've ever run the game and we've actually had the child be successfully created. I don't think it's ever happened in a game I've run with a mother. The mother's usually always killed or runs off. And so
when I started playing Nox, I was sure like this is a 4-session character. I'll create an orphan and I'll peace out and go. Yeah.
We've never gotten this sort of sweet version of the story. And so, but I'm really glad we are, because I feel like we've earned it, right? Like I think the flashbacks did a really good job of building up to this type of child-mother relationship, right? And so, just hats off for that. It's really enjoyable to see. And I hope there's a way of like incorporating the child into the sort of final events of the campaign. Yeah. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet.
I don't know what you have as a plan, but I do want to note, and you should talk about this as a table. Like we have like veil to harm against children. I think we should place the child at whatever age puts us comfortable with them not
27
with them not being a child, or just say
the like, actor is 27
like like paralleling this character feels weird, especially with that scene with like the Theodora watching the whole thing. Like it feels very observed, and so like only enthusiastic consent to whatever you decide to do with that.
I mean, I think like I mean we could discuss it off mic, but like I take the harm to children veil to be like proper
harm,
children, right? Like this is a construct made from body parts pilfered. But we can figure that out. Star as well for I don't know. I guess I just really am. It's not a star. It's more of a wish. I want to know, like, when and if you all are going to confront Theodora, even before this sort of like mechanical structural confrontation. Like, are there going to be any attempts to like kind of like, what is your problem? What is your deal? What are you doing? Right. And a connected wish is I really kind of want us to, well, I know we're going to, but I'm very excited by sort of this power that Theodora is tapping into, right? Like the fact that she was at the King in Shadows, that she has the Waitley camera, that she clearly she's exerting power in the world, and I'm just having a lot of fun with that, and I'm ready. I'm very excited for that to reach its sort of its zenith. But yeah, really great stuff all around. Thank you, everybody.
I want to hop in there because I mentioned it last week when we were on air, but a wish I have, if we could go back in time, or if we do one of these in the future, which I hope we do, is for you and I to, like, the next day after these, record little things about what you are thinking about and doing as a keeper, because you run so many games, it's unfair to be like, hey, that thing we did last week amidst all the other games that you are running, like, what were you thinking at that exact moment, right? Like, having you do some sort of audio diary would, I think, be a really great compliment to something like this.
That's interesting.
Because, and I say that only because, like, I don't want to know as a player, like I just want to, but like the layering of King and Shadows and the Waitley camera and all the different things going on are creating this created a very singular thing, and how you're taking all that in and processing that. I'm super interested in. So just note that in your mind right now. We can talk about it when we're further along, also too. But it is like that is a start. Like watching you make choices as a keeper and the way some of the different things have evolved and what you've put on the table, taken off the table, how that builds it. Some of that's a design start. Like you made a really good game. Great job. But watching you run it is also really great. And watching the way you are folding those different pieces together and responding to the narrative at the table is just really, it's amazing to watch. And there's like, I can't even remember, like there were two of them tonight where I was like, that's such a really great small little hint. And one of them was like, I wonder if he's doing that on purpose. And the other one was like very obvious. And I was like, that's such a good small note.
I pepper little things in constantly.
Yeah. And so,
I don't call attention to them. I just do them.
But they are these like great little like subtle things. And at a home table or on an actual play, like it's great because there are these little Easter eggs that people watching can get into, or that some players will catch and some players won't. And it doesn't matter, because it's also a moment of joy for you to be able to just throw those things out. So watching you enjoy the game and pepper those like is just truly fun. Wes, your unseen was tremendous. Warm Gin was absolutely phenomenal. Add-in. I really the paint the scene that we did for Cremor Gardens with the fish creature it just felt really good.
It was really good. Yeah,
like because each of you like. You know, you do that thing where you run through what are a couple things I might talk about during this, especially if somebody else takes mine. And a lot of y'all did. And I want to call it like Vyn, like I had like, oh, fish candy or something, like kids will be eating something. And then you were like, wet pockets. They're full of chum and fish heads and kids love them. And I'm like, that's way fucking better. Like, but like it was just those moments, like all of those came out really quick, connected well, but also did exactly what Paint the Scene is supposed to do. But I don't think we would have gotten there without wet pockets.
And if I can just interject really quickly, think about the like. I mean, I don't think Vyn necessarily had this in mind at the time, but like, but it's interesting how that fish head thing then sort of got echoed throughout the whole session, right? Like we had the various fish masks, the actor's fish mask, and then there was the one that Tim had. There was that like kind of thing. There was just the idea of masks and heads in general that were like popping up constantly, especially in the night phase. So there was a lot of like just the game operates on that level sometimes, and it's really fun when it happens, and it all kind of, and I wasn't like intentionally doing it, but I know that Paint the Scene answer of the fish heads in the kids' pockets like was absolutely in the back of my mind, right? Yeah. Like it was there.
Well, and that's like people like groupthink has often tended to turn people, and I said this before, like people associate it as a bad thing, and improv spaces and in RPG spaces, like it is, we are all starting to think well as a group, and that is what you need for really cohesive play. And CFP games do it really well. But like that really just kicked off that one really strong, and then we were able to and that initial setup of something expected that then is subverted to, oh yeah, that's like I was thinking about that, oh, but I never would have got that, and now we can feed on each other. And Vyn, you and I got to have a couple of those moments that I've just super enjoyed. Somebody called it out last week, like the Nox is fine, Tim is fine, like dualism, like some of the like it's all like super fun. But I'm loving just watching you leaning with this character also too. Oh, Wes, there's another fucking thing you did that was brilliant, but just know that you're amazing. And then as always, like there is a level at which, like you said it during the stream, but like your supportiveness as a player, and you do it like so this is not even just in the way that you play, which is always amazing, but like having someone at the table who is such a fan and champion of the other people at the table is so important to freeing everybody up to do the things. Like I can take bigger swings with my character because I can look at you and know immediately, like, is this hitting or not? That's such a huge gift to the table.
It's
so
very
few people
GGG play, right?
Yeah.
It's very like it's very giving, it's very game. It's like it's exactly what you want at the
Yeah.
table.
And so like it is just like wonderful to kind of see that consistently. And then like you switching into character mode also. Like I'm just gonna walk past the second one, playing with the like the voice the voice, like having that moment like is all like was all just so good and so spot on for character. And then as soon as you're off, you're like so invested in what everybody else is doing and supporting them. It's just like absolutely amazing. And so chat was really fun tonight also too, with all of their comments also too. So stars for chat.
Yeah, stars for chat. Y'all are great tonight. It was great fun. Star to Vyn. I love all of your interactions with the NPCs. I like how Tim is such a caring character, but a little freak, a little creep. And so like it's a really good like it's just like a really good like juxtaposition of like his interactions with the surroundings and everything. Excellent conversation with Greco. Very moody, very atmospheric, very of the theme, like of the aesthetic and of like the themes that are in the game. Um, B, the vulnerable scene with Lord Grey. I always have fun working off of you. And we always have like very entertaining and good like vulnerable scenes. So I'm glad that the people get to see them nowadays. I also am enjoying the slow burn of their like interactions and everything that's been happening. And now like it's very much like there's some opening up happening between employer. And I think both of our masks, we've been using them really well in like very thematic ways. And so that's the star for you as well. Because I think like you have a really good sense of pacing for your character. And like Tony and then also have good senses of their characters, but in their own ways where they do the both of you and I know Vyn is a studied a student of Monster Hearts too. Much like myself, we came up in the same dojo. And Tony, I don't know your experience with with MH2, but like y'all very much play the character like you're driving a stolen car. It's very Mickey and Mallory, both of you, of how you're playing your characters. Where you have this want and abandon, and like it feels like on the surface that there's no care, but like you're very much like, no, I understand this character needs to have this kind of story and needs to have this kind of breakneck speed with it, and it's very like interesting to see how you play Tim differently than Tony. It's very interesting to see this like we've seen Knox driving this cart, this horse, this like it's out of control cart towards the edge of a cliff. And at the very last minute, you somehow make it break just because this one thing went right. You can feel like you've done a very good job of Knox feeling like if this goes wrong, then it's all over and there's nothing. And like, and it's like I mentioned it in the chat, but to be a fatalist but also a scientist that's creating life is such a wild concept, and like it is such like a very just like almost kind of like it's kind of a gross feeling to me because it's like why are you of all people the one that's being able to do this, because you have such like a but like I don't know, like the moment felt like there was like this switch in Knox that's like I will never have a purpose unless this is fulfilled. And then now that it has been fulfilled, I said it in I think the chat or Discord, I am very excited for the Lone Wolf and Cub, the professional like Last of Us, God of War kind of like this older jaded person with this younger person experiencing life for the first time. And I think that's going to be such an interesting story that we get to see play out. Yeah, wishes. I think same. I think I am now like in a comfortable place of like digging more into Brathwaite and like taking more of like I know there are other threats going on, but I think she has played her hand too much that I think like it is now a time where it's like, okay, you've shown your hand. Let's show you what we can do now, a little bit, and kind of let's cross swords and let's test boundaries.
Burn her house down.
Burn her house down.
Burn her house down. We have an invitation. Let's just go burn it down.
You do have an invitation to Breath of the
Yeah,
Wild. It's true. Yeah.
Putting up on what I said though, I also do want to ask Jason: is that a normal talk through that you do as a keeper? Like, how do you normally like the mother move, like having the Limehouse Lurker come down, like talking through? Is that like a because it was really excellently well done diegetically to be like, here are the options for things that can happen. Is that a normal thing, or was that something that came to you in the moment? How do you normally approach that moment?
Well, wait, let me try to understand the question correctly. Like, do you mean like how I presented the child die roll or something?
How you had the Limehouse Lurker talk to Nox about essentially what are amounts to the outcomes of the roll.
The outcomes. Oh yeah. That was just in the moment. I thought that would be a fun way.
It was great. I love
making the outcomes of the die roll more in the fiction. I guess. Yeah.
No, it was so good, and it also let. Like, there's no other way other than me being like, here's what my character is thinking right now about all these things to pull any of that out. Like, it was really, really good. I'm the type of GM who likes to, like, I'll take any, like, I look for inspiration for anything written on a piece of paper somewhere. Like, if there's a character, if there's a moment, if there's a thing, it's all like usable to me. So I was like, okay, what could the Limehouse Lurker talk about right now? Because he's here, but I don't know what he's going to talk about. Oh, I know. I literally thought, we'll talk about the results of the die roll in fiction. We'll talk about it in fiction and see, kind of explore it. So I don't know, it just felt right. So, but yeah, I like to use every piece of the pig to We're not doing that
role play.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go across the screen. Tony, Nox, oh my goodness, oh my gracious, just the child and like this instant softness. We know that it was there, like with all like the narration and stuff, but to see it like happen, just heart on the floor oozing. 13 out of 10. We'll cry again. Just amazing work tonight. And I think I would have been happy with any outcome because you're just that amazing of a role player. Anything would have been fine. But I really enjoyed what happened. Wes, you had to describe someone getting their shit rocked, bloody rocked, echoed rocked. It was great. It's gross, but great. The chompers. I love the description, knowing like we were doing the current threat the theater shit with my man Friday breaking just into the room after the screen was top notch. I hope Warm Gin is the ship name because it was y'all's y'all's vulnerable move was just so good and I was so happy for them. It was so sweet seeing them together, and like I was freaking out because they were holding hands. I was like, oh my god, has that happened yet? Like, have we explicitly said that the Langfist is touching Gray? I was like, fantastic. Also, just you and me, this little second, just Trawlerman mention.
I'm so glad I caught your eye there because I was like, and like, I was like, yes, good. Vyn knows.
I mean, we were already going so meta with this session. It really would have been something for a character to show up and call you Brother Faulkner.
Oh God! Oh Christ! I'll just drop into the accent.
That tonight.
Listen, I would have done it at the drop of a hat, but good Christ on a cracker. I think I might have combusted. Also, yes, Vyn, that is the ship name now.
Let's go. Jason, I don't know how I feel about tonight. I'll send you my therapist's information, her PayPal. Mommy, he was mean to me. But no, it was terrifying in the most fun way. All the sound effects and the heavy breathing and the guy. I don't want to think what could have happened if Tim would have killed that dude on the spot as an actor. The lawsuits would have been horrendous. Baldwin who? Just incredible. Again, 13 out of 10. I love this table so much, and knowing that it's winding down has me just as blue as my face. So great job tonight, y'all.
Awesome. Levi says in the chat. Chat says lots of really amazing things that kind of echo a lot of what's already been said. So I think we're gonna leave it there. We will be back next week, but before we do that, Wes, you get any cool looking books in the mail this week?
I certainly did.
You want to tell us about them?
Yeah, I actually have them somewhere. Let me go grab them real quick.
In the meantime, Jason, why don't you catch people up on what is coming next for The Betweens? You'll have some exciting stuff, and there's a lot of great things happening in the Gauntlet. Tell us what you're up to.
I mean, the big thing is that we are going to be crowdfunding the physical edition of the game. It's not just a physical edition of the game, though. We're making a lot of changes to the game. Not like, well, not a lot of changes. We're making some very targeted, smart changes to the game. So you're getting a really, really revised, perfected version of The Between coming to crowdfunding. That's going to be on BackerKit crowdfunding. And we don't have a date yet for that, but it is happening soon. To support that, we have some actual play stuff launching very, very soon, probably next week, actually, with Ain't Slayed Nobody, which is a podcast that normally does Western Call of Cthulhu campaigns, but I've been running games for them for a little over a year now. We did public access, and then we did The Between, and none of it's been released yet, but we're going to start with The Between, and so I'm really excited for people to hear that. We've had a chance to listen to the first few episodes. A few of us have listened to them, and they are amazing. They're so, so good. Crowdfunding In Between, that is the big thing. It is coming. People have been waiting literal years for this, and we're excited to finally be able to do it. I have taken a long time to get to know my game in a really intimate way before going to crowdfunding, and that's my way. It's not always the most satisfying way for people, but I think it is going to make the end product so much better. So,
Jason, let me design and launch another game to test something for the game that I.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my style. Like, well, let's see, folks. I've got this game's doing this, and this one's doing this, and this is how they're affecting this one, and yeah. But
so
the between is reaching its final form. So
awesome. Also, if you're loving this and you haven't listened, if you're thinking about running a game of The Between, if you're not listening to the Dark and Threshold podcast, you need to go listen. You get a lot more insight into the design and there's stuff like that, but. You should.
Oh, and speaking of, my co-host Alex wrote the King in Shadows threat, which I ran tonight. So, which was itself inspired by my Brindlewood Bay mystery called Exit Stage Death, and so the Brindleverse is Brindleversin always. So, yeah.
Love it. All right, Wes, you get any cool books this week?
Yeah, I got a handful, and I've got more on the way too. But I just for Zine.Club this year, I got Campfire Scouts, which is just great. Look at that artwork right there. Look at that cover artwork right there.
That's the unholy fusion of Together We Go and CFB game tech all in one.
You get to build your camp counselor, which is like making a schedule, and also like I don't know, this is a very interesting kind of like different kind of like vibe to it. I love the merit badge system. Instead of leveling, you get merit badges. That's very cool. It's very like I don't know. I can't wait to run a fucked up sleepaway camp one shot with this or something like that. But like I don't know. It's very cool. Y'all did a great job on this. And then also another very cool thing, which is Masks of the Masks. Which is if you're like a fan of like Watchmen, now I'm like doing all this stuff because my camera. But if you're like a fan of Watchmen or Doom Patrol,
second Watchmen reference tonight, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, it's got some squids.
Some squids in there. The interesting thing about this book here, is that like all of the rules are like laid out as comic panels with the art. And so you go through the blurbs, and that tells you how to play the game and everything. And all like you have like mask moves, destructive moves, and then you have the different kind of like heroes you can be, like the Heir, like you're a new version of an old hero, or like the Hardline or the Detached. Like they're all very like Watchmen kind of coded. And you like build the city together and the authorities and the Enigma and the Doom. There's a doomsday kind of clock vibe to it, so it's very cool. Yeah. And then also I got The Wassailing of Claus Manor by Mike Martins, Michael Van Fleet, Brian Sago, and a bunch of other folks who like play tested it and everything like that. It's a beautiful book. Like it's just absolutely gorgeous. I got to see it at the retreat, and it's just like
It's gorgeous.
It's super cool. Yeah.
We did a layout deep dive. If you are somebody who makes games, the Wassailing is great to just get in and play. Like it's phenomenal. It's well designed. It's gorgeous. There's so much great stuff happening in it. But really paying attention to the layout and what Mike is doing in both the writing and the visual design is really next level, and you should get it and study it, or just go watch the broadcast that we've done with Mike also too. That's a lot, and that's a lot of great self-promotion. Find all that stuff at +1exp.com. Go sign up at Zine.Club. We really love getting to these. We've got a few more episodes left. We're headed into the final stretch here. But thank you everybody for coming and watching us. We'll be back next week to continue playing The Between.